Right, if you're coming in, guys, make sure to hit that like, smash that heart button, and share the live. Hopefully we can get pushed out on the algorithms and have some good conversations today. There is no proof there is a God. There's plenty of proof of evolution. All right, well, step up on the stage and let's find out if that's true. Come on, don't tell me you're gonna make a claim like that in the comments and then not come up on the stage and actually try to support it. I'm 17, I can't come up. Yeah. Oh. We'll keep praying for you. Hopefully you'll see the light. The fool says in his heart, there is no God. So I don't want you to be a fool. Appreciate the stickers, guys. Thank you. What's up, brother? You doing all right?
Yeah, doing pretty good. How about yourself, brother?
Man, I'm hanging in there.
I was just gonna like and just kind of sit back, but since the young gentleman can't join, I figured I would jump in instead and keep things moving for you. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
So this is when I think about evolution, what I think about is just this one fact, and that fact is that it doesn't matter what you do, evolutionarily wise, right? You can never go from a dog to a wolf, but you can go from a wolf to a dog. And that's how you know from that fact that we live in a decayed world and that you can't go back to what was. And that's just fact. So if I start from there and I start processing everything else around that understanding, then a lot more things make sense.
Yep. 100%, man. That's true. We can take a wolf and we can breed it down to a Chihuahua, but that's always degradation. And you're absolutely right. They cannot take the Chihuahua and then breed it back to a wolf because
sir.
that information has been lost.
Yes, sir. So I just wanted to jump in with that, and with that, wish you the best of luck with the rest of the stream, and I'm praying for you.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. It's good words of encouragement. I appreciate it. Good words of encouragement. All right, guys, do me a favor. Like I said, smash that heart and the share if you don't mind. Let's try to get me pushed out in the algorithm, and we can have some good conversations. And I do appreciate all the support and all of the hearts and all of the shares and stuff that you guys give me. I got over. Did it for like 3 hours the other day, and I got over 100,000 hearts. So I appreciate that. That's I hope you guys enjoy the content. So let's see what we got here. Frankie Marks.
Hey, evolution is false, but the flood is real.
Mm-hmm.
You want to put $5,000 on it?
If I had $5,000 to put down on it, sure, I would, but I'm not much of a betting man, but it'd be pretty easy for me not to lose. So if I had it, I absolutely would.
Well, how about forget 5,000? How about become the most famous, influential, most groundbreaking genius of our lifetime and prove it? Because that's what'll happen.
I wouldn't. Well, I am moving up pretty fast. I mean, I've been doing this less than a year, and I'm skyrocketing to. Usually, I get about 100 consistent viewers now, which is pretty good for somebody that just started off like me. And I got about 3,600. So if I keep going at this rate, my last videos on my platforms got 4,000 and some change views just on one platform. Probably altogether about 5,000 or 6,000 views on one of the last videos that I did. So
I'm happy that you're having success.
My point is that I'm growing to what you proclaimed. So you named it and I'll claim it. So I think I might possibly become one of the most influential guys out there. So I appreciate the support.
Let me ask you a question. Where did all the water go?
Mm-hmm.
It flooded the earth. Flooded the whole earth.
In the oceans.
It's in the oceans?
In the oceans, yeah.
Oh, but how did the land mass arise over it? Where is
in
the
the book of
evidence?
Psalms, well, in the book of Psalms, it says, as the waters assuaged, means as the waters went to the low parts. it says the mountains arose and the valleys sank down. You can say, brother, you got like some major background noise going on.
Yeah, I got some very entertained children here in the front.
Okay, well, the Bible says that you can say you don't believe it, but you can't say the Bible doesn't teach it. At the end of the flood, the mountains arose and the valleys sank down. So this is where the water went. The water went to the low spots, and that is the oceans.
So shouldn't we be able to look in the ocean and see a whole bunch of civilization structures and see a whole bunch of evidence of people living and what it looked like underneath the water, or that just vanished too?
Pre-flood world was destroyed. Civilizations don't just stay up when there's water.
No, right. So don't you think there would be structures that are destroyed under the water that the water destroyed? Don't you think there would be land masses?
Well, when
there would be
the land
pottery,
masses,
don't you think that there would be?
There is land masses. Yeah, and there's plenty of evidence. This is what this is. Hydrologic sorting. This is all over the world. So we see evidence of a worldwide flood literally all over the world. And there's plenty of civilizations to where you can go that they're underwater. So this is not something new. I don't know if I would call any of them pre-flood or not. I don't know. But if that's just your criteria, then that criteria is pretty easily met.
So let me look at this background thing here. Seeing all the geological columns here that are not... Mm-hmm. You can't just take these in one area of the earth and think that it's going to be consistent everywhere else. I hope you do know that. That's why they're...
Never my claim. The fact that it's hydrologic sorting, this happens underwater. I don't need all of the layers to be uniform across the planet because the flood wasn't on the planet long enough to make it uniform across the planet. However, what I would expect to see is the geologic column. I would expect to see this all over the planet, especially if there was water all over the planet. And that's exactly what I see. Now, the only difference is that you guys say that these layers are millions of years apart. This is a AI representation of polystrate fossils.
To be honest,
so polystrate fossils show that these can't be millions of years apart.
I'm not even the guy who says they're million years apart. I wouldn't know it if you showed it to me. I wouldn't understand what I'm looking at. I'm just going by what makes logical sense as a human being, right? What is logically that makes sense? If the flood happened, I'm assuming you don't think it happened 6,000 years ago?
Years ago.
Well, then it can't be because Egypt was building pyramids and there was no account that there was any worldwide flood. And so in China, there was things that were documented in history that we could know that these things happened in history, and nobody ever mentions a worldwide flood. And Egypt was actually building pyramids at that time.
It's not true. What you just stated is factually inaccurate. So if you're going to use the chronological events, they have flood stories. China has several flood stories. So to say that they didn't mark down a flood story.
They have
Is
flood
it fair
stories.
to say that pretty much
Okay,
all
hold on.
cultures may have a flood story because all human civilizations live next to water?
Let me contend with it, okay? So, and then secondly, when you say that when you're using the Egyptian chronological map, that's what you're using, that this king went back to this far and this far and this far, that's the evidence that we have. And we know that they lie about that. I can show you where they literally removed kings and time periods, like Akhenaten, like Tutankhamun. They literally, when you had a pharaoh, when the Egyptians thought he was a god, then what he said about the history is not an accurate account. It's literally just him saying, this is what I tell you to write down about history, and because I'm a god, you have to comply. And we know that they literally removed people out of their chronological events, so it's not trustworthy. You can't say that their lineage goes back before the flood and it's unbroken, so therefore there was no flood, when we know that they lied about it.
So you don't believe there were civilizations alive during that time, 4,400 years ago? You don't believe that China was around, Mesopotamia? Your civilization alive during that time. The flood could not have happened.
All of your every single one of them comes after the time period of the flood. Every single one of them.
This happened about 4,400 years ago. Is that it?
About 4,500 years ago. 4,500 years ago. Yeah. And then
the
you
water, the salt water and fresh water would have mixed together, unaliving the fishes and the whales, right? Two of each.
It would have unalived.
Yeah, because some
Okay,
animals
so-
are carnivores.
Brother,
They only-
brother, calm down. Don't
Yeah, I know.
shotgun stuff up here. Okay, let me respond to one at a time, and so we can have a
Okay.
conversation
We'll go one at
instead
a
of you
time,
just
okay.
coming up and shotgun it.
Sure.
Okay, so we believe that the world was freshwater at the time. Salt water is the result of erosion. So the oceans are getting saltier every year because the salt is literally washing off the continents and into the water. So going from a freshwater fish to a saltwater fish is you can do it slowly. They've done experiments where they've added salt into freshwater tanks and literally acclimatized fish to saltwater. So that's not
So
a
there was freshwater
macro
back
change.
then?
That's a micro.
There
Yeah,
was
I
no
believe it
salt
was
water?
freshwater.
Okay, everything
Well,
was salt
honest-
water. How
honest-
old is
uh,
how old is the world?
Brother, well, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm
chill
sure.
out.
Relax,
Ask
holy
me a
man.
question
You're
and then
going
let
to
me
heaven.
answer
You're
it.
going to heaven. Relax.
Okay,
First Peter
I'm
chapter
going to go
3.
there. I'd like
You
to
just
see
must
you
answer
there.
questions with kindness and gentleness. You know.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming, dude. But for some reason, I don't know if you done a line or something this morning, but you were just way too spazzy for me to have a conversation with. You asked me a question. Do I think that I was going to say I literally don't know if all of it was freshwater or not, and then I was going to show you how some salt water and freshwater could have mixed and unalived a lot of animals. Right. The fossil record has more sea life in it than it does land life, right? So that means in the flood, there was more ocean animals that unalived than land animals. But I couldn't have a conversation with you, dude. You're squirrel. Look, there's a squirrel over there. So just calm down, man. Go take a nap or something and then come back and try it again when you're not so frazzled. What's up, Wild Man? Welcome back. Carlos, I'm talking to you, brother. What's up?
Oh, what's up, bro? I didn't know we thought. Well, I didn't know you thought that the water was old. So you're saying like the fresh water obviously would have mixed with the salt water.
Yeah, there's two ways to look at it, and I don't know because I wasn't there, and secondly, the Bible doesn't say. So I take the position that the world was probably full of fresh water, and then salt water is a result of erosion today. That's what we see. Salt water washes off the continents and into the ocean, and that's why the oceans are becoming saltier. But even if I was wrong about that, and there was the pre-flood world had salt water, then the whole thing wouldn't have had enough time to mix uniformly. So you would have had huge extinction or unaliving events of the animals in the ocean, and that's exactly what we see through the fossil record. So either one of those things can be true. It wouldn't disprove the flood.
All right.
All right, let's see. What you got? Is it
CTV
Cup of
work.
Joe? What's up, man? Okay, and CTV, what's up, man?
Go ahead, Joe.
Joe, you're on stage, man. Cup of Joe.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hey, how you doing today?
Doing good, brother. Hope you are.
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. Hey, so really, I think this kind of come to, is the Bible real? I think so. I think the flood is a story within the Bible as a teaching. It's where we disagree on this topic. So just to kind of setting the stage on where I'm coming from. That being said, I think that there's a few things that prove that the Earth is about 4.5 billion years old. I think one of the biggest ones, radiometric dating. Another one would be kind of just like uranium. Well, that's not the same thing, but the decay of natural elements, we can measure how long those elements actually do take decay today. We can see over time how long those things do take to decay, and we can measure that with fairly good accuracy to the point to where it kind of proves the age of the Earth would be the biggest thing there. I know there's some kind of assumptions around like zircon crystals within those, but if you actually take a look at, you see, okay, well, uranium turns into lead over X amount of time. We can do the math and simply show, okay, the Earth is now this old. So that's really the kind of like the most compelling thing, is we can see things in the present today, how they actually form into other elements, how they actually decay is the biggest thing there, and thus kind of showing us the age of the Earth.
So radiometric decay, every single one of them has the three same fundamental flaws. One, you have to assume the parent material compared to the daughter material. You have to assume how much was in it to begin with. Two, you have to assume the decay rate remains constant. We've only been observing it for 100 years. And you want to tell me that everything past radiometric 14 goes into the billions of years. So if you wanted to concede with radiocarbon 14, I could grant that one, but everything else goes into the billions. So you're telling me that because we've observed the decay rate remain constant for 100 years, that therefore we can extrapolate that it remains constant over a billions of years? I think that's a huge extrapolation. And then thirdly, you have to assume that all of these things are in a closed system, meaning that leaching cannot happen and radiometric material can't be brought in or out of the whatever you're dating. And unfortunately for the radiometric dating, we just know that that's not true. Secondly, we've radiometrically dated things of known age and it just doesn't work. So if it doesn't work on items of known age, then why do we assume that it works on items that we just have no clue? Like if I can go to the crystals in the zircon crystals in Mount St. Helens and I can test those and find out that it doesn't match the eruption, then why in the world would I believe it on something that I can't test and observe? So that's another problem. But radiometric dating, it is just full of assumptions, and you can get whatever date you want out of those by the assumptions you put in them.
Well, I mean, that's kind of where we can make assumptions based on observations that we've seen. Okay, fine. Do we know exactly? Were we around 2 billion years ago in order to measure radioactive decay? No. So is there a possibility that it's different then? I think highly unlikely. You can see a lot of evidence that points to, quite frankly, the age of the Earth when you talk about, there's meteorites, for instance, sitting on the coast, sitting on top of Antarctica, that we can date those as well, and we can see those using the same materials, that same process. Are we making assumptions? Yes, but we're making assumptions based on observations and based on that, as opposed to assumptions. Well, we are.
Not when you do. Disagree. Okay, all right. So you find a zircon crystal, and it has 50% uranium in it, and it has 50% lead in it. How old is it? The half-life is 1 billion years. How old is it?
I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
All right, so that's okay, no problem. So the half-life, meaning that half of it is decayed away in 1 billion years. We find a zircon crystal that has 50% uranium and 50% lead. That means it's half. So by the math, you would go, okay, we know the half-life is 1 billion years. Half of it is uranium, half of it is lead. That means it's 1 billion years old, because it's been decaying for that long, right?
I misunderstood your question. I'm sorry before.
That's a problem. But here's the assumption.
But yeah,
how much lead was in it to begin with? How much uranium was in it to begin with? Could lead or uranium leach in and out of the crystal? And the answer to that is clearly yes. So you're never going to know the date of the zircon crystal unless you know how much has decayed into it, which you do not know because you do not know the start material. You only know what's there when you test it. Let me give you an analogy, okay? You and I walk into a room together, and in the corner of the room is a candle, and it's lit, it's burning. The candle is burning away. And I look at you and say, hey, Cup of Joe, when was this candle lit? You say, I don't know. I say, okay, let's go do some science on it, right? So we go measure the candle. The candle is 10 inches tall. We wait 1 hour. The candle is now 9 inches tall. We wait 2 hours. The candle is now 8 inches tall. We know the decay rate. The burn rate, aka the decay rate, is 1 inch an hour. That's the constant. That's the constant. Okay. By that information, brother, when was it lit? You're never going to be able to answer the question unless I tell you how tall the candle was. We don't know how tall the candle was because all we know is the decay rate. We do not know the start material. But if I assume how tall the candle is how much time I can get that it's been burning. if I assume that the candle is 12 inches tall to begin with, then I can assume that it's only 10 inches when we went in there, so it's only 2 hours old, right? Or if I say the candle is 6,1,280 foot tall, then I'm going to get a large amount of time there based off simply the assumption of how much was in it when it started. And I will never, ever, ever be able to know that unless I can rule out. That's your problem with radiometric dating. You can get whatever dates you want by the assumptions that you put on it.
I understand where you're coming from.
You're breaking out, brother.
Measure.
Cup of Joe, man. Listen, you're breaking out, man. Real bad. Yeah, I appreciate you coming, man. I'm sorry I had to remove you, but nobody was getting anything you were saying because it was coming in way too broken up.
Well, I had a question that I would propose right in the middle of all of that, right? And it's about some information that I found out was that scientists actually have found dinosaur skin, right? And collagen, which is one of those things that has a half-life of 10,000 years, is not supposed to exist, and yet they found it.
Okay, so let me make sure they found dinosaur soft tissue, yes. They found fossilized skin. They haven't found soft skin or anything like that. They found collagen, and then they found fragments of DNA. So that is true. They found fossilized skin, but they haven't found like intact skin.
Then explain to me what I saw was very pliable. They said it came off of a triceratops.
Yeah.
And
that's soft tissue. That's 100%. Right. They're finding soft tissue. I just want to make sure that we get the claims right, so nobody claims that I'm saying something or we're saying something or giving misinformation. Right. They have found soft tissue, just not skin. But yeah.
Okay, so that pliable material, that soft tissue, not skin, is skin not soft tissue though? I mean, I guess.
It's anything that's not bone is classified as soft tissue. And yes, skin is soft tissue, but it would not be correct to say that they found like soft, pliable skin. What they found was collagen when they dissolved the mineral away. So it is true to say that they found soft tissue, but it is not accurate to say that they found like soft skin.
Yeah, and the thing.
But you are still correct that it can't be millions of years old.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to ping in on there is the collagen, right? And the fact that science is saying it has a half-life of, and it's like, okay, well then that half-life should mean that if it was millions of years old, then it shouldn't exist right now. And yet it does. And you're left with that reality.
Yep. And I see Spooky down there, if he wasn't just so frazzled. But yeah, they're finding soft tissue and DNA fragments. Now, the more recent one is DNA fragments, and we know what the half-life of that is. It's 527 years. So it's just literally impossible for dinosaurs to have lived 65 million years ago and still contain collagen and soft tissue. It doesn't happen. We know what the degradation rates are. So this is unequivocal proof without a doubt that dinosaurs did not live millions and millions of years ago. They lived about 4,500 years ago, absolutely, with man.
Hey, Creation. I gotta go back
What's up,
into
brother?
work, man. But I'm gonna be watching, man. Keep doing your thing.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. All right. When somebody says you're wrong, if they're talking to me, I can give you the papers. I can show you. So I'm not wrong. What's up, Azra?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I've seen two different numbers. I've seen a range, and I've also seen two different numbers. But one, it was like 527. One was 521, and I've seen also a 530. But I've seen 521 more often for the half-life of DNA. But I mean, we're given a range like 521 to 530. When people go in the comments and say wrong, I mean, that is, you know what I'm saying? You're talking about 6 years difference or 10 years.
Oh, so
difference.
dinosaurs and people lived at the same time on Earth, right?
It's not gonna.
that what you're
That's what I'm
saying?
saying. It's not going to get you to 65 million years, though. You see
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
I brung
Okay.
you back up. Please
Yeah.
don't start spazzing out again, and I will have a conversation with you. But don't do
Sure.
what you did last time. I'm giving you
Sure,
another
holy man.
opportunity here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, all I was trying to say was, we can't change how these things work because it's uncomfortable. The backbone of DNA is a sugar. You're not gonna get a sugar, a complex sugar like like ribose, deoxyribose. You're not gonna get a complex sugar that's gonna last for 65 million years. You're just not. So it doesn't make any sense because it's a very high energy level, and higher energy level molecules are going to decay. They're not going to just stay together like that. So I don't understand what the point is of people nitpicking things like that, or none of that stuff matters. The truth of the matter is you're not going to get DNA lasting that long. You're not going to get collagen lasting that long. You're not going to get soft tissue. These things, we know these things, but I don't think atheism is. I don't think it's a adherence to facts anymore. I think atheism has become its own religion. So when you're telling them they're wrong about something scientifically, they're looking at it religiously. You're attacking their religion, and I think that's why you get what you get, host.
Let's go, man. What do you got?
Okay, so what you're saying is the Earth is about 6,000 years old. Is that correct?
Honest answer: I don't know how old the Earth is.
You have no idea? No idea.
My belief system is that it's less than 10, but I wouldn't know.
Okay. So the sun is 4.6 billion years old, and the Earth is 4.5 billion years old. The sun is older than the Earth. Okay. Your Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth on day one. On day 3, God creates the plants and vegetables. And on day 4, God creates the sun and the moon and the stars on day 4. How could the sun come after plants and vegetables?
24 hours.
Was that?
It's only 24 hours, so the plants
24
will be
hours.
just
So God
fine.
creates the plants and vegetables on day 3, but He creates the sun and the moon and stars on day 4. That's what you believe, right? Okay, so the Earth is, okay, so when the life appeared about 3.5, 3.8 billion years ago, that means the Earth was 4.5 billion years old. It means for 600, 700 million years, there's no life at all. That's just life. Now, if you ever type in, how old is the world? When did life first appear on Earth? What were the very first animals on Earth? Sponges about 700 million years ago, sponges. Fish 530 million years ago. Sharks 450 million years ago. Amphibians 380 million years ago. Reptiles 315 million years ago, blah, blah, blah. So dinosaurs evolved about 245 million years ago. For 40 million years, dinosaurs were small. Dinosaurs died out about 65 million years ago when an asteroid hit Mexico, but it wasn't called Mexico at the time, wiping out 75% of all life on Earth.
How did dinosaurs live?
I'm almost finished.
Hold on. It's not a monologue, brother. Let's have it back and forth. How did dinosaurs live 65 million years ago if we're still finding soft tissue and DNA fragments in them?
Okay, so what you're saying is because there's soft tissue, that means that dinosaurs are people at the same time. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so you're wrong right there. Dinosaurs are people that not live at the same time.
That's not telling me how. You got to contend with the argument.
I'm not a scientist. I can't explain why there's soft tissue. So what you're saying is, were there dinosaurs?
Okay, so then that you got to deal with that. Yes, there were. They got off the ark. That's why they're in the book
baby
of Job.
dinosaurs? You know how big a dinosaur is?
Of course.
Okay, you know how big
the baby ones are guys. I got it. No disrespect. I know what I'm doing. Yeah, baby dinosaurs. Yes, they're not going to bring fully grown adults on Noah's Ark.
4,500 years ago, right?
4,500 years ago.
Yeah, dinosaurs are people. Okay, yeah, and you believe that, right? And when did the dinosaurs die out? When did they die out?
About 4,500 years ago in a flood, and then the ones that got off the ark lived a little bit longer, but then they got hunted and so forth and so on. They couldn't live as long in the atmosphere.
Oh, okay. So what did the carnivores eat when they left the ark? The carnivores, they only eat meat because carnivores
when they left the ark.
Yeah.
When they left the ark, they ate meat. That's when they became carnivores. If you're asking me what they ate on the ark,
there's no more deer though. There's no
more deer.
Brother,
Spooky, please. I need you to focus, bro.
Yeah, sure.
Like I don't know if you're like on Adderall or something, but just like focus. So you asked me what they ate when they got off the ark.
Yeah, well,
and then you said there'd be no more deer. You mean when they went on the ark? Is that what you're talking about?
When they went on the ark, right? And when they ate people left
they were vegetarians. They were vegetarians on the ark.
Yeah, the plants and vegetables would have been destroyed when they left the ark. When the flood happened, the plants and vegetables would have been destroyed. So the herbivores.
Spooky, here you're not You're not going to last long because we haven't got on any argument yet, and you're just throwing
you're
crap
wrong.
against the
Dinosaurs
wall
people
to
did not
see
live
if
at
it
the same time on
sticks.
Earth. They
Sticks.
didn't.
Excuse me. I need you to.
You don't
I
know
mind.
that?
I want to. I brought you back up to have a conversation with you.
Sure.
So let's contend with an argument. Pick one and let's stay on it. Because
Okay.
right now I'm just swatting flies, bro.
Yo, sure. You're really debating me. You were really doing good. So dinosaurs are people who lived at the same time on Earth, correct?
Yes.
You believe that? Okay.
Yes.
I love it. Did
Okay,
you go to
I
school?
love it too. So now we got to contend. But now you're just going to jump to school. We went from dinosaurs to school. So that's why
Okay.
I need you
Okay,
to
I'll ask you another
focus.
question. So when the
Focus.
carnivores left the Earth,
No.
First Peter,
I need
must
you to
answer with
focus
kindness
now.
and gentleness.
I'm about to kick
Be
you, bro.
consistent.
I'm about to kick you.
You must
I'm
pray and
very
forgive your
consistent.
enemies.
All right, man. Get off my stage, you
You're a holy
idiot.
man.
How's
Fuck
that for
you.
kindness?
You-
Yeah, you idiot. Ask me a question and then I can't answer it because you're just don't come back up. And don't request to come back up because I thought I'd give you a second opportunity, but you're just too cracked out, bro. Go seek help. You're too cracked out to come on my stage, man.
It sounds like
Chris, what's up, bro?
What's up, man? What's up, man? How are you?
Hanging in there, brother.
For sure, I understand that. I was gonna say, man, that guy honestly has nothing. He has no idea what he's talking about. Even the Old Testament talks about. It mentions a creature with a neck as long as like a specific ship, and it even talks about the long neck. But I will say too that if you look at Genesis, it speaks about when the sons of God, the Watchers saw that the daughters of women were fair, they came down and they had children with them, and then those were the mighty men of old, the men of renown. And then it also says people debate on the book of Enoch, but it talks about in the book of Enoch how they began to devour every living thing, and then when men could no longer sustain them, it said that they beguiled everything that every fish, everything that was in the air, and every fish in the sea. And so what the flood talks about is because of this falling of the angels, right, and this inner species, basically an abomination, right, is what the giants were in the Nephilim. And it says that God wiped the earth because that all he saw was just bloodshed, and that men's hearts were only full of evil thoughts continually. But it also says in there, if you look, it says that they beguiled the fish and all the things that creep and crawl, and it says the fowls of the air. So if you look at what a dinosaur is, right, my concept is that there may have been certain creatures like the long neck that was created that God originally intended as creation, but then you have these watchers coming down. It says that the giants beguiled the animals. So at the time, if you look at what a T-Rex is and all these, they're like mutant hybrids. And my concept and my thought is that potentially that dinosaurs, why they weren't on the ark is because that they were the cross-breeding of two species that were never supposed to exist.
On the ark, they're in the book of Job. Job was a post-flood book. So if Job mentions dinosaurs and it says, behold now Behemoth, and that's clearly a sauropod dinosaur, then that means that dinosaurs had to get off the ark in an effort for Job to behold them. Secondly, when a lot of people have heard my stance on the Nephilim and the fallen angels, this is exactly why I think it's a false teaching in an effort for people to say that Ben Elohim means fallen angel, because it means sons of God. But it brings you to these kind of false teachings. No disrespect to you, but that's what it is, that we're saying that the flood was partially because of hybrids and things like this. The Bible just does not say that at all. You have to go to a non-canonical book that was written by, the Jews even know that it wasn't written by Enoch, because it comes in the 400 years, the intertestamental time, and that's far after Enoch. So the Jews thought Enoch was important. They carried it around with them, but they did not consider it to be scripture. And this is the problem when we say that the sons of God means angels. The Bible does not say that angels had relations with women at all. It just doesn't say that. It says the sons of God found the daughters of women and took them to be wives. So what are the sons of God? Some people mean they take that and say that means angels, but I clearly take the stance that it's not angels, because Jesus himself said angels are not given in marriage. But yet we see the ones here in Genesis are given in marriage. Secondly, if they're fallen
because
angels, why are they making a covenant? Why are angels making a covenant with humans? Marriage is a covenant between God and you and your wife, right? That's the covenant. So why are angels, fallen angels, which are demons, why are they getting married? Why wouldn't they just fornicate? Why do they get married?
It says that they made a covenant and they made an agreement to do this grievous thing and betray God. And it says that they decided that they would all share the penalty together, and that they would all do this thing together, and that they would all share, the wrath of God together. And it said that they came down, and the book of Enoch is actually, it verifies what Genesis says by that they came down and took wives. There's no other meaning by saying take wives. That means they literally married them and consummated.
Can I kind of throw in mine?
Sure. Let me ask you a question there real quick. In the giants, right, the Nephilim, are the Nephilim the offspring of the humans and fallen angels?
That's what the Bible says, yeah.
Let's see if it says that. You got your Bible?
I'm literally not near my Bible right now.
No problem. I'll go there and I'll read it for you. So let's go to the Bible. It's Genesis chapter 6 is where we're looking at. And let's see if the Bible actually says that, because people get that and they never actually read the verse. The verse does not say that the Nephilim are that. So let's take a look at it. Why is this not working? All right, there it goes. All right, Genesis chapter 6, starting at verse 4. I'll read the first couple of verses so to make sure to give it context. And it came to pass in those days when men began to multiply upon the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them. The sons of God saw that the daughters of men, that they were fair, and took them wives, all of which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for he is also flesh, and yet his days shall be 120 years. There was giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and bare children unto them, the same became mighty men of old, men of renown. That word there, giants, is the word Nephilim. So this is what it says. It says there were Nephilim in the earth in those days, and also after that. Okay, pause. Right here we see the Nephilim were already here. Now we don't know what the Nephilim is because the Bible doesn't say other than just to say giants, but we don't know what they are. It just says giants. There were giants in the earth in those days. Well, what does that mean? Is it talking about their stature? Is it talking about their intellect? Is it talking about their military might? We don't know. It just says there were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that. After what? Well, we know. It says, right? The verse continues. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and bare children unto them. So we see the Nephilim were here before that. Before what? What is that? They were here before the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and bare children unto them. Now, in this verse right here, the context switches to talk about the children. What are the children? I'll read it again. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men and bare children unto them. The same became mighty men of old, men of renown. So we see that the sons of the daughters of man and the sons of God, their children became mighty men of old, men of renown. They did not become the Nephilim. The Nephilim were already here. That verse unequivocally, without a doubt, says that.
Okay, but in that verse, it also states that when the sons of men saw the daughters of, when the sons of God saw the daughters of men were fair, they came and took wives unto them, and they begot children. And it says, and those were the same men of mighty, mighty renown. And it basically is telling you
their children were men
in those days because of what they did, and then afterwards the flood.
Paul's right there. Paul's right there. Where you get that? We can already see right here in the verse that the giants. I just read it to you. I can read it again. Those giants were here before that, so they're not a result of the sons of God and the daughters of men. They were here first. I can read it again. It literally says there were giants in the earth in those days. There were Nephilim in the earth in those days, and also after that. So here we see that this verse is clearly a before and after. It's saying that there were giants here before and after the sons of God came into the daughters of men. So their children are not the Nephilim. It's right there.
That's incorrect. It literally states it. Then what? It literally says that the Nephilim the disembodied spirits of the giants. How else would?
No, it doesn't say that. Where does it say that? Give me the verse. Give me the verse.
It does say that in the book of Enoch, and Enoch was a real person.
I don't care about the book of Enoch. That's not scripture. Scriptures only mentions the Nephilim twice. Once in the book of Numbers and the once here.
It was in the original canon text before the Council of Nicaea. So
that's not true at all.
Yeah, it is.
Hey,
no, it's not. Give me a reference. Give me something I can look at, because I can go to. We have the writings down, right? Like, we know what happened at the Council of Nicaea. The Council of Nicaea didn't put in any books. They didn't take out any books. What they did was, brother, give me a source. Give me something, because I can show you that the Council of Nicaea just confirmed what was already there. Give me a source that I can look up right now to show.
Original 80 books in the original Bible, something like 80. I can't remember the exact number, and then we have 64 in the
I need you to support your claim, or the conversation is going to be over, because I can just simply Google the Council of Nicaea and we can look and see the transcripts. We know what they did. They affirmed what the Christians already had.
I don't understand why you're just like protecting the Nephilim and the giants. Like, are you related to them or what?
I'm not. I'm protecting what the Bible says. And the problem is you guys get these false teachings, and now you ran away. Of course you did. You guys get these false teachings that's not in the Bible. And it leads you away from the Bible to start believing this fanciful stuff, to where you start telling me on my stage in front of 100 people that the T-Rex was actually a half-breed of a demon angel baby. It's just really ridiculous, man. And it takes you away from the gospel, and it makes us Christians look ridiculous on our face. So that's why I fight you guys tooth and nail, because the Bible doesn't say it. The Bible doesn't say it. And you have to get this weird stuff from some kind of extra canonical book that's not scripture. Go ahead, brother. I know you've been trying to get in here.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of like different ads and stories that are going all over all of the different platforms. They're telling this story that these people are describing to you, right? So that's where, like, I guess my question to you, right, is do you consider the Bible a guidebook to the spiritual realm?
Yes.
So, like, then that was kind of
but not exclusively that.
Well, no. But like in everything else in this whole world, nothing else even comes close to describing, say, like the emotional and the spiritual and the like, not the five senses, right? Like, it's that next level perception, right? And then also recordings of history, and then that's found in the rock, etc. But but it's a gateway, like, to understanding the spiritual realm. So with that in mind, when I read Genesis chapter 6 and it talks about the giants, what I kind of envision in my mind is that, because when it says the sons of God, that's obviously man. We're sons of God. So then I think what they're talking about is, and then through the evil continually is talking about how that, I don't know, demon, that spirit, whatever, right, has come to infect man, and that there's no way away from it, right? And then understanding that, God goes, wow, this world's just way too wicked. The only way we're going to be able to get close to is I got to literally go through the cross. I've got to then go through the cross in order to get something back out of my creation, because it's all wicked. So I see that as a whole spiritual realm acting in the physical world.
I mean, it could be. My thing is like this. I take the Bible for the parts that obviously there's nuances to it, because some parts the Bible's talking semantically. So I say it like this: I take the parts of the Bible that's meant to be taken literally, I take literally, and the parts that's meant to be taken semantically, I take semantically. I take the flood as an actual real event. There's more than enough evidence for it all over the planet, so there's no reason for me not to believe that it happened. As far as the sons of God and the daughters of men, honest answer is the Bible just doesn't say enough about it. There's not enough information there. The Bible was written for us. It wasn't written to us. The individuals this was written to at the time understood it, so they didn't give any context. It was so clear to them that they did not add any additional context. That context has been lost over time, and I do not know what the Nephilim were. The Bible only mentions it twice. The one in Numbers actually refers back to the ones in Genesis. So there's no context there. So we have no clue what it means. Literally, all the Bible says about the Nephilim is that the Nephilim were here before and after those days. That's it. That's literally all it says about the Nephilim. And people get it to say that it means all of these other things. And it's like, there's no information there for us to be able to draw any conclusions.
Yeah, and that's where everything I try to make sure that can in somewhat way relate to my lived experience, right? And all of it does through an understanding of the spiritual realm. Because and we all sense these things, and they all are said in different ways, ghost stories, or somebody's having premonitions, or different things happen. Everybody ends up having some kind of experience with it, and then they end up trying to figure out some way to rationalize it. And the only thing that I've ever been able to find through any of mine is the Holy Bible that explains all of it, and then gives you the history in the rock, right? And that's where, like you were discussing earlier about freshwater, I wasn't there either, obviously, but we can kick forward a little bit in Genesis chapter 6, or actually into 7:11, actually, where it says that in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all, and that's like the calendar part. I don't get that part. But then the next part, right, in B, it says, the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. So, and I think you and I talked a little bit about this before, about the separating of the continent, and then through the creation of the Atlantic Ocean, how all of that water ends up mixing all over the planet anyway. So there's no real way to know, but what we do know through watching natural erosion processes that the waters get naturally more salty. So there's no reason to think that process would have been any different during that event. So,
I appreciate you.
yes, sir.
Supreme, what's up, man?
What's going on?
Supreme. Hanging in there, brother. What you got?
Man, I just wanted to pass some information about the stratigraphy god, Gunnar Heinsohn. You ever heard of Gunnar Heinsohn?
No.
Yeah. Gunnar Heinsohn, he presents stratigraphy.
I say it overheats.
Today? He presents, anyway, Gunnar Heinsohn is a major scholar who presents stratigraphy and evidence as over 300 years added to our timeline. And when I looked into it, it's actually over 1,500 years added to our timeline. Just passing information along.
Send it to me in a message or something, dude, so I can look it up.
All right, I'll message you.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
Yep.
Ban, what's up, dude? I muted you up because you had some background noise, so you hit the unmute button. You're on stage. Ban going once. Ban going twice. All right, sold.
All right, brother. I'm going to go ahead and take my leave, and I wish you a good rest of your podcast.
All right, brother. God bless.
God bless.
All right. Do me a favor, guys. Hit the heart and the share. Let's try to get some ops in here, and maybe we can have some good conversations. Conversations so far hadn't been bad. I wish Spooky was able to focus a little bit more, but that's really the worst conversation we've had, I think, so far. He's still down there in the comments spazzing out.
I mean, here's the thing, though. In regard to him making those references to science, it's like he's not making real claims in science. He's just saying things, but he's not going in depth to explain anything. And I'm just like, it's hard for me to even think to address him, because I'm like, you're not making a scientific claim. You're just saying something about science, but you're not giving any context to it. You're not giving any type of scientific evidence of what you're saying. You're just making scientific claims and leaving it there.
There was a paper.
Yeah, very confusing.
There was a paper that came out in the 1800s that claimed that a girl had drank geode juice. You know what a geode is? Like you crack them open and you have crystals inside of it. So there was juice inside of it, right? Like water. It was silicone based. So she drank it after cracking it open. She instantly petrified. Her whole body instantly petrified. Seriously, dude, it's a phenomenon.
Yeah, I'd have to check
I
that
doubt-
out.
And the biophysics behind that are impossible. But
No, it's not. But check it out. Look
Okay,
it up.
I'll have to look at it.
All right. Adios.
Gog and Magog, what's up, man? Gog and Magog.
Yeah, yes. I have a question. How did God create animals? Like, how did He create the first lion and the first lioness and the rest of the animals and insects?
How did he create them?
Yes.
By the word of his mouth. He
Said
spoke and
that-
it was.
Yeah, okay. Now I understand. Okay. Thank you. That was my question.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, man.
Okay.
Ethan, what's up, dude?
Good. How about yourself?
Hanging in there.
All right. My question was, what is the explanation for the flood and how all marine life was affected by that?
What's my explanation for? What do you mean?
Yeah, like what's the biblical explanation? How, because Noah's Ark, he created that for all the land animals, but I'm assuming that all marine life had to survive some other way, obviously. And my thought behind it is, how did marine life survive if all this new water for the flood came in and changed the salinity of the ocean?
A lot of them didn't. We see the fossil record is full of marine life. It's actually more marine life than land animal life, obviously. So most of it didn't. Now, obviously, I would believe that the ones of the original kinds, like a flounder, you might have had one kind of flounder that was able to survive over here, but the vast majority of them probably unalived in the flood. That's why the fossil record is full of marine life. So I would say that most of them probably did unalive.
Okay. So like freshwater marine life would probably have all perished. So then how did they come back? Was that like a whatever survived eventually adapted, or what's the explanation there, if you know it?
Yeah, I believe in microevolution. Going from freshwater to saltwater is just a small adaptation. Matter of fact, there's been experiments where you add saltwater into freshwater environments. You just do it slowly, and the fish can adapt over time.
Okay.
Before you answer the next question, Ethan, there are some fish who can already do this. There's some fish that can go. They live in like estuaries. They can go from fresh water to salt water to mix of salt and fresh. They literally do that. And there's this wonderful shark called the bull shark. It does it already. It goes to lakes. It goes to the ocean. It literally can go to estuaries. The bull shark is literally attacked people in lakes before because it swam to the lake up a river. Because the bull shark, he's not the only fish, of course. There's plenty of fish that are tolerant of both fresh and salt water. We just don't talk about them very often, but there's plenty of fish who can do that right now.
Do you think it would be reasonable to assume, though, then after the flood that we would have seen a majority of marine life have that ability to adapt to both fresh and salt water, or do you think it makes sense that we see now today that there are strict saltwater marine life, freshwater marine life that can't coexist?
So here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. When you're talking about a situation where we 100% can just grab random sea animals and see which ones can survive in fresh water, but that's not ethical to do that. But when animals are faced with a challenge, they do tend to acquiesce to that challenge, and the ones who can't, they don't survive. However, because it has been so long since such a thing has happened, there's an adaptation to your environment. That's why the gentleman who's the host of this live can actually absorb vitamin D from the sun better than I can, but I can resist the wavelengths of sunlight that cause cancerous tumors better than he can. There's a reason that the people of my color make a triplex out of HIV-1 in Botswana, but the people of European descent, they put the CCR5 receptor site under the surface of the CD cells to fight off HIV-1. You see what I'm saying? These are genetic adaptations, but we're still the same species. We are still humans. Like, I'm type O, I can give blood to another human because we're both humans. You see what I'm saying? If we were not the same species, we couldn't do that.
So, like, also just to simplify what he said, he's 100% right. But like, take it like this, like the bass, right? You have saltwater bass, striped bass, largemouth bass, rock bass, small bass. They're all bass. So if they were in the pre-flood world, and then, you know, whatever the original bass kind was, let's just say that the original is the striped bass, and there's this huge mixing of freshwater or saltwater, and all of the bass unalive with the exception of the striped bass. That's okay. We can still get the variations of the bass back out of the striped bass, right? We can still see speciation happen. That's microevolution. So even if 99% of the life went extinct, as long as you had the original kind of that, which is what the Bible tells us, then you could still speciate back to where it was. You could still get the largemouth, the smallmouth, the rockeye, and all these other different types of bass from the original bass. That's my point.
Okay. My next question relating to the flood too was, so it relates to the picture you kind of have behind you there with the, what is it, the polystrate fossil. So you had described that being evidence for a flood, correct? Because of the way that you see a fossilized tree through different layers of sediment, correct? Okay. So what I have read is that an explanation for why we find those is that you tend to find those types of fossils in sediment where large amounts had, you know, engulfed this tree in things such as like a mudslide, or I think in high volcanic areas. I'm curious what your opinion is on that.
Yeah, they have to say that because the layering, that's the point, is that they're through all of these layers cannot be millions of years apart. So if you was to be able to ask them, which obviously you can't, if they were to remove the polystrate fossil, would they then still believe that the geologic column that they're looking at in this area is all the same age? And the answer is no. They think that these areas, these columns are different ages. The reason why we know they're not is because you got a fossilized tree in the middle of it. And so when they see this, they have to say that this is a rapid sediment burial, because that tree is not going to sit there for 65 million years. So they have to say that it's rapid sediment burial. The problem is that the polystrate fossils are literally all over the planet. And secondly, we know how they formed. We saw it at Mount St. Helens when the volcano blew the trees into Spirit Lake. The trees would float, and then they would get waterlogged and start to float horizontally. You can't see my pencil there. Once they started floating horizontally, then they would sink down to the ground, and then they would get stuck. And then you had the trees that were still at the top of Spirit Lake that were still bumping into each other and knocking bark off and stuff. And then that caused a literal snow of sediment to come down over top of the trees. So we saw how these are formed in real time. And this is what we would expect to see in Noah's Ark, right? We would expect to see that you had these huge debris mats the size of states, that these trees would get uprooted. Some of them, we believe that volcanoes and stuff were going off too and blowing trees out of the way. And this would have literally been floating in huge debris mats. The trees would have become waterlogged, started floating straight up and down, and then settled down inside of sediment, and then would have been covered up by sediment. And the fact that these are all over the world, you know, proves that the flood was all over the world. And it also proves that the geologic column is not a slow sediment rate over millions of years, but this is a rapid sediment event.
Yeah, I think from what I've read, yes, they agree that in those areas that it is rapid sediment, but I think what it had said was it wasn't millions of years in between. A lot of the times in those areas, it was thousands of years in between each interval or something. I can't remember exactly. So forgive me.
It's still it still couldn't be. You got your Bluetooth on there, balls to the wall. So I'll mute you up until you can get that fixed. But it still couldn't even be million. It still couldn't even be thousands of years because that tree's not going to sit there, right? So it literally has to happen rapidly, or the tree is going to rot away, and there's not going to be anything there. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I did this because he kept talking about hydrologic survey. He did it for like 2 months or 3 months. So I went to a lake and a river because I wanted 2 different sources of water, and I just scooped the crap out the bottom, grabbed some of the lake water, grabbed some of the river water. It got some plants in there, and at first everything was cloudy. It was like an absolute mess. And then I wanted to see if these layers would just form very quickly, or would it take a long time? Literally, the soil at the bottom, because these are jars, so it's see-through. You see the heavier soil come first, and the next layer for the next layer, and you get this thin layer, and you literally see a plant going, like a plant that got buried. It's going through all these different layers. So if that was left there and it solidified as a rock, people would start saying it was this many years old and that many years old. I made that like 2 months ago on a whim. Thinking about this guy talking about his hydrologic sorting. Like, it really does do that. And it does make layers very quickly. Even in a stupid little jar, it works. It's outrageous that we're yeah, and they are, by the way, the dirt this is in just some regular pond water. The dirt is actually getting solid. It's not, when I pick the jar up, it's not moving around anymore. Now it's started to get hard. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. If we're basing it on something that some guy, well, I am a scientist, but I'm just some guy doing it for fun. It wasn't part of my research or anything. Just did it for fun in my house to see what would happen. And it's already starting to harden. It's ridiculous that we are using that as a statement of how old something is. We need a better method.
Amen. Yeah, brother, you have any additional questions, man?
Yeah. So one last one. Dealing with after the flood had happened, with what is the biblical explanation on where all the water went? Because obviously the whole planet was flooded. Where's that water got to go?
Yeah, it went to the oceans. I actually did a little. Let me see if I can pull it up, because this actually is a little short video, but it illustrates what happened. So the Bible says that the fountains of the deep broke open, so there was water underneath the crust of the earth. You can say you don't believe it, but the Bible clearly teaches it. It says that the land was founded upon the dry land was founded upon the waters. So then we believe that when the fountains of the deep broke open, the waters literally went from under the crust of the earth to on top of the crust of the earth. And then when the waters are on top of the crust of the earth, you have this gap now where the water's not there. So in the book of Psalms, it says, as the waters assuaged, meaning as it went to the low places, the continents got heavy. There's no longer any support structure underneath of it, so they break. When the continents break, this causes the mountains to arise and the valleys to sink down. Let me pull this up right here. Now, this
has been proved scientifically.
So let me show you this little thing right here. Now, this is an AI video, so it's not a perfect representation, but it is something that I've made in an effort to help kind of illustrate the idea, to kind of give people a thought process of what it's doing here. All right. So the fountains of the deep would be here. Imagine the fountains of the deep broke open. The water comes out from underneath the crust of the earth to on top of the crust of the earth. And as the water starts to assuage, as it starts to go to the low parts, then this shelf right here gets heavy and it no longer has water underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
This causes it to get too heavy. It breaks down. This causes the mountains to arise and the valleys to sink down. So what this shows is that now the water is in the low places, but it's twice as deep as it used to be. And when it broke, you get the layering that actually curves and it does this. And we can actually see this all over the place. It's called curved strata. You can't do this. The strata cannot curve if it's hard fossilized rock, right? It won't do that. It'll break. It'll break in. Imagine grabbing some potato chips out of a bag and trying to bend them. Clearly, there's no water content in it, so those potato chips are not going to bend, they're going to break. So this also shows that these layers were wet at the time that they were bent for them all to bend together and not to break. But that's just kind of an illustration. So where'd the water go? It went to the oceans. It's there now.
So the water beforehand was underneath in those hollow areas in that picture or video there. How did that water rise up from underneath?
It was pressurized. So the little picture that I showed you showed it as a hollow spot, but it actually says the land was founded on the water instead of like hollow spots, because a hollow spot wouldn't be pressurized, obviously. But you know, I can't get the internet to do every single thing I want it to do, so that's the way that it rendered it. But so the land was founded on the water. Again, you can say you don't believe it, but you can't say the Bible doesn't teach it. So this would have made the water extremely pressurized. So when the fountains of the deep broke open, you would have had water that shot out. I personally believe that this is where we get a lot of the asteroids and comets from today that actually probably escaped Earth when the fountains of the deep broke open. Couldn't prove that, but that's just my own personal viewpoint.
Interesting. I'd never heard that explanation before, so that's something I'll definitely look into a little more.
Yeah, man.
Hello, my fellow mammals. How you doing today?
Doing good, brother. What's up?
Yeah, so I want you to explain what you disagree about in terms of evolution with a foundational mechanism that you define scientifically accurately.
Sure. So I agree with microevolution, but my disagreement would be with anything outside of that, like cosmic, chemical, stellar. Mainly macroevolution is my contention. And then for that to be true, I would need to see genetic information gained. You got some background noise there, champ. Yeah, so I would need to see genetic information gained. Genetic because you got to be able to pass it on to your children. New information as far as new structures, new functions, new code, new DNA. It'd have to be gained from something that wasn't there before. So that would be my definition of macroevolution.
So can we focus on one mechanism?
Yeah, like what do you got?
I mean, we could go with speciation or gene duplication, perhaps.
Well, I believe in microevolution, so us just talking about things that we agree with.
That's not answering the two terms I just used. I didn't use the term microevolution.
That's what that is, though. Sorry you didn't use the term. You might not know that, but yeah. Like, you can say that there's different species of rabbits. They're still rabbits.
Sure, just like there's different species of apes, including us.
Well, just because, there you go. See, I'm not going to argue over definition because that's not evidence. Just calling me an ape doesn't mean that we have a universal common ancestor. So that's why I say we need to go with genetic information.
Whether or not there was an actual speciation event between two lineages you're observing.
I don't. I believe in speciation, so I don't. I don't need a methodology because I believe in it. What are you talking about? Are you okay?
Now you're contradicting yourself. You said that's part of microevolution.
Yeah, I said I do believe in it. You're not listening. Yeah. You guys are absolutely the best evidence for evolution because it's hard for me to believe that God could create some of y'all that has no ability to listen. You guys are the absolute best evidence for evolution. Please pay attention and go with the conversation and not this made-up conversation that you have in your head. Well, pay attention. You're fine. But pay attention.
So you believe that speciation is something that can happen or not?
Yes, I can. That's just a human. Sure. That's just a human concept on it. Yeah, it's our definition on it.
Okay, so you agree that, for example, for animals, you can have one original population that leads to two distinct populations that can no longer have fertile offspring to the point where they can be considered. Okay, cool. How do you determine whether or not this has happened between any two organisms you're observing on this planet?
I would need to see it's testable and observable.
What if it happened in the past, like for example, horses and donkeys? What do you think?
I couldn't. I would have to see the evidence.
Do you think there's strong evidence that horses and donkeys share common ancestry?
Yeah, they can still breed today. So, yeah, they can still breed today. So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that if they could no longer breed today, then you would not be convinced that they share a common ancestor?
The Bible says they'll bring forth after their kind. So if they can't bring forth, it would be a problem. Yeah.
Right, but the point is, can a kind produce two kinds?
A kind can only produce its kind. It can't produce another kind.
Okay.
A donkey and a
so
horse
if-
are still the same kind.
So you are convinced there was a speciation event between donkeys and horses, and the reason why is because they can still have offspring.
Yep.
Okay. If you have like two populations where only a minority of the time they manage to produce offspring, is that still the same kind?
Don't know. I'd have to see the example. If they can bring forth if they can bring forth period, they're the same kind.
Yeah, you can find a spectrum on both like whether or not they have a baby and whether or not the baby is fertile in many different contexts. There's a
Doesn't
spectrum.
matter. If they can bring forth, they're the same kind.
Horses and donkeys
So-
can't bring. They can't. It's not a viable offspring, host. He's lying. You can't. A horse and a donkey can not.
Well,
bring
he said
viable offspring.
bring
It's called a
forth.
mule
Like he
and
didn't
it's
he didn't say
fertile.
bring forth a fertile offspring. I refer to the fertile
It
offspring.
has to
So I
be
wasn't
viable.
trying to be
Listen.
misrepresentative.
The point of speciation. The point of speciation is viable offspring that can also reproduce. That is speciation. To be the
For
same
animals,
species,
yeah, I think it's a
you
good
have to
definition.
bring forth a child that can also reproduce. The fact that horses and donkeys cannot bring forth a child that can also reproduce means they are not the same species, sir. That is not speciation.
Cool. So I agree with you, Ezra. I think that's but if when it comes to whether or not it's the same original kind, it seems like host
Although
would
we
say
still,
yes.
I got you. We still haven't gone nowhere though yet. So can we kind of get where we're going?
Yeah, so I want to understand your position. Like, for example, if you're convinced they were originally the same kind, if horses and
Yes.
donkeys, could not produce any offspring whatsoever, would you be convinced they originally came from two different kinds?
I don't know. That's a hypothetical.
Well, it's a hypothetical that
I would
has to
have
do
to
with
see
many
it.
different conversations we could have about many different species.
Yeah, but it's
that
kind of
don't
hard
have
for me to say what
offspring
I
at
would
all,
think
but it's
when I
still very
know that they
similar.
can. But when I know that they can bring forth, it's kind of hard for me to take that out of my mind and say, now this is what I would do if I didn't know that. Because I already know the
Right.
answer to the question, it'd be hard for me to say the opposite.
No, I get that.
I
but-
believe in speciation, brother. I believe that can happen. I believe that's just a definition that we as humans put on it. The animals don't care. You might have several
I know
different
that.
species of rabbits. They're still rabbits. So I just need an example of genetic information gained that's testable and observable. You asked me earlier how I do this. The way that I would do it would need to see genetic information gain. So if macroevolution is true,
Oh, that's
and we
a
went
different
from a
topic.
single-celled organism to it's the same topic.
That's
To answer
not-
your question, is if
Speciation
things
and
can
gene
speciate,
duplication are two different mechanisms.
if they can speciate, but there's no information gained there, it's not evolution. If they speciate and there's
Wait, what do you think
information gained
evolution
there,
is?
then that's what, brother, get off my stage.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, it's just
fucking
straight
quack.
confusion with you. Yeah, straight confusion. That's what you do. You cuss me on the way out because y'all come up, you say a bunch of word salads. We talked for 10 minutes and we literally got nowhere. We didn't get nowhere because I couldn't get you to where you're going because I don't, you guys are just frazzled. And I say it every time. You guys are absolutely the best proof of evolution. I don't need bones in the dirt. I don't need DNA. Your guys' brain constantly degrading makes me think that this evolution and degradation stuff might be real. You guys are the best evidence for it. You can't keep a thought process. You can't land a plane. You don't know where you're going in the conversation. You just come up, you verbal diarrhea stuff all over the place trying to get something to stick, and it makes no sense. No sense. I don't know where we were going.
I was going to say, I actually agree with you guys. You guys know who Dr. Dino is?
Yeah, Ken Hovind. I love Ken
Professor
Hovind.
Yeah, no, he's pretty cool. I like to say
I was just gonna say, hold on. I was just finna say the next step he was going to take was that he was gonna say that we evolved from chimpanzees. Now he may have paused because some of them will pause if they think that you know that there's some type of proof against that, which would be orphan genes, unique orphan genes in humans and unique orphan genes in chimpanzees and unique orphan genes in bonobos. Being that each species has its own unique orphan genes and no two species share the same orphan genes would be an indication of creation, not an indication of you evolved from a monkey. That's where he was afraid to go because if he was milling on it, but he doesn't know if you knew about orphan genes, because if you know about orphan genes, then you'll know, hey, you can't have genes appearing in the fossil record because that's magic. You can't have genes that only appear in one species, but then also claim we evolved from those species, because every species on this planet, from bacteria to viruses to fungi to humans to monkeys, doesn't matter. They all have orphan genes that are unique to that species and are found nowhere else, and there are no genetic precursors for these orphan genes, which doesn't make sense in regards to evolution.
And I think in the
I
Bible
need
it says
to
that
agree
they
with
have a veil.
speciation, which I do, but I think he was trying to show me that speciation is evolution, not micro. But I think when I agreed with him that I believed in it, he didn't know where to go. So he was just trying to buy some time until he could figure out what he was going to do with it, because I already agreed with him. I believed in speciation, but we were going nowhere. So I think he didn't know where he was going after I agreed that I believe in speciation.
Yeah, I think the Bible also says that like some people just have a veil over their eyes. They just, no matter how much evidence you bring to them, you just can't convince them.
Yeah, God says he'll harden your heart after a while. If he'll give you over to your sin. If you want to keep blindly believing this stuff, no matter what the evidence shows, then the Bible says he'll just give you over to your sin.
Mm-hmm.
Loki, what's up?
Listen, they're getting smarter, host.
Hold on, I gotta do something before I can do something. Like start talking. Just give me 5 seconds.
Okay, bro.
What I was gonna say is
Go ahead, Ezra.
they're getting a little smarter, host. I noticed no one jumped on that. I was just saying I noticed they're getting I noticed they're getting a little smarter. No one jumped on that abiogenesis train today. They left that train alone. If I don't know if you watch other live creation, but they are abandoning abiogenesis. Like atheists treat abiogenesis like the drunk girl at the party who done made false essay charges. That's how they treat. They give abiogenesis the what is it in the rap song? Say give me 50 feet. They bag back, give me 50. They acting like this is a rap song. They don't go nowhere near abiogenesis. That is the drunk girl at the party who makes false essay charges. They do not. They are staying away from her. Nobody want to talk about abiogenesis no more. Creation. They won't even talk about it.
I get it in waves, and usually the people that I do get are just so uneducated in it that they think that it's already been proven to happen in a lab. That's usually what I get when the people that try to go with it, they're just really uneducated in it. Loki, what's up, man? You back? You ready?
Yeah, I'm back. So I just want to get a reason. Why do you believe evolution is false? And why do you believe that the flood actually happened?
Okay, and I believe in evolution is false because when I say that, I believe in micro. I think micro is testable and observable. But anything outside of micro, like cosmic, chemical, stellar, or macroevolution, is all inference. They don't have any evidence to support it. It's all inference. And then I believe in the flood because of the evidence that goes with it. Hydrologic sorting, polystrata fossils, dinosaur boneyards, soft tissue, and DNA fragments in dinosaurs are the reason why I believe in Noah's flood.
The reason why, me personally, why I don't believe in the flood is that it just doesn't make sense logically, since there's no water, there's not even enough water to cover the entire planet. Because
that's so factually inaccurate, brother. That's not true at all.
In the Bible, it covered every single piece of land, including what's it called? Mount Everest, which is like the tallest mountain on earth right now.
Mount Everest wasn't there. If you read the Bible, then you would know that it says in the book of Psalms that as the waters went off the continents, that's when the continents broke and the mountains arose and the valley sank down. So the mountains rose as a result at the end of the flood, not at the beginning of the flood. So there never had to be enough water to go over Mount Everest because Mount Everest wasn't there. And literally the Bible says that at the end of the flood, the mountains arose and the valley sank down. You can say you don't believe it, but you can't say that the Bible doesn't teach it. And if you're going off of the story and you're using a consistent methodology, then you can't say that it's logically incoherent and doesn't make sense, because it does. And if you push the mountains down, like the Bible says they rose up, if you push them down, and the Bible says the valley sank down, if you push those up, there's a 2-mile surface of water that would cover the entirety of the planet. So when you say there's not enough water on the planet to flood the entirety of the planet, you're not only wrong, you're a lot wrong, because the water would be 2 miles thick over the planet.
Dang, I didn't notice that part. But there's also some other differences as well, like how did they all not die from methane poisoning in the boat? Like, as I saw,
they wouldn't leave the poop on the boat, brother. You're not just going to sit there and sleep and poop. You got 8 people on a boat. You could do 2 people a shift for 12-hour shifts and you still have some time off. And all you do for 12-hour shift is scoop poop, lay out grass, and fill up water troughs. That's your job.
Yeah, but Noah consistently did that on the boat for almost, how long was the flood again? I think about a year.
They stayed on the boat for a year, but the flood, they only floated for 4 months, but they were on the boat for a year. And yes, this happens at zoos every day today. People go scoop poop, feed animals, and fill up water troughs.
That was one individual doing that constantly for 1 year, able to track every single animal on that boat.
Stop. Why is there one individual doing it? You didn't even hear what I said. This is what I mean. I don't mean no disrespect, but y'all got this image in your head, and then you don't listen to anything. You got 8 people on the boat. I said 2 of them can work in 12-hour shifts, and other people would still have days off, right? So if you got 2 people working in 8-hour shifts, that's 4 people a day. That's 2 people that don't have to do anything the whole day. They get the day off, right? And then you can work in and out. So you got 8 people on the boat. You could have 2 shifts at 12-hour shifts, and all you do is scoop poop, feed animals, and fill water troughs. So why do you get there's only one person doing that?
Yeah, damn it.
Was that it? He said, yeah, dang it, and he left. Hey, man, I'll be honest with you. I do prefer that more than I do the people that just cuss me out and then roll out. So at least that's hilarious. I don't know. Where do you get there's only one guy? Like, I would be so mad if I took you on the ark and then you decided not to work.
If we have a little intermission here between the next guest, I had a question actually when you guys brought up abiogenesis. If you would like to answer that quick.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So
I'm
sorry. I don't mean to.
Hold on 1 second, Mr. Carr. Let him land, and then I'll go to you.
Okay. If we were to find microbial life on another planet like Mars or on one of the moons in our universe, not that there is proof, but like they think there could be, if we did more research on there, that we might find proof of living life. How would that impact the creationist view?
It would strengthen me about the flood model. I think the flood model actually so the fountains of the deep had land, obviously, that was on top of the water. Again, you could say you don't believe it, but you can't say the Bible doesn't teach it. When the fountains of the deep broke open, this land obviously would push on it. Water would shoot out at such a high velocity that it would reach escape velocity. I think the water escaping the planet is what caused the craters on the moon, right? I think that because there's craters on the near side of the moon, anything past the moon coming towards Earth, the Earth gravity would pull it into the Earth. Why does it go past the moon, stop, and then turn around and go back into the moon? Because the moon is tidal locked, meaning the same side of the moon faces us all the time. So you have to get a very specific trajectory in an effort for it to hit the moon. So I would imagine that the craters on the near side of the moon is stuff that's coming off of the Earth. So I think that a comet hit the planet. This caused the fountains of the deep to break open. This would literally cause debris to get shot out into space. I think that this sideswiped Mars. I think this is why Mars has a trench like the Grand Canyon, right? I think that Mars, it sideswiped Mars, if you will, and then it got picked up by Saturn. And I think that those ice rings around Saturn are from Earth. The reason why is because there's been a study that was done a while back about the accumulation that happens in space of space dust. Space dust should accumulate on things at a reasonable rate, if you will, a predictable rate. And the ice rings around Saturn is too young. They're too bright, meaning that since they're too white, there's not enough space dust on them, showing them that they're young. So I believe that the water came actually from the planet. I also think that some of the asteroids that were testing to find amino acids on them, I think they originally came from Earth, and that's why. So if we found microbial life out there in within our solar system, I would say that it came from Earth.
Okay. I will have to say I heavily disagree with that, but I haven't heard that point brought up before, and it's interesting, but I heavily disagree with that because the amount of force that would have been required to cause that water to eventually reach the escape velocity to make it into space and then somehow find its way to Mars, I do not think that is physically possible. But
well, they're finding extremophiles in space now. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's coming from Earth. So if it's already in space, and we know that those extremophiles are in Earth, and they're found in space already, that goes through the radiation and no problem, then I don't understand why it would be a problem. Once you get to the vacuum, you're good, and we can already see that there's plenty of organisms that's got to the vacuum. So I don't know why it would be a problem for them to go to Mars.
I just think, though, the amount of impacts that require anything to escape Earth's velocity, that would be astronomical. Like, that would have destroyed the planet, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but my point is, we can already see it, though. And it's not the water would have been, it wouldn't have been something hitting the Earth and then causing that debris. It would have been something hitting the Earth and then the pressurized water causing it to shoot out into the ocean or into the atmosphere. But my point is that we've already seen extremophiles that have already done that. So to say that it couldn't happen when it's already happened, and we can see that they're living just fine, is my point. That's my point.
We've seen extremophiles escape Earth, or that we just already observed extremophiles in space.
Yeah, they're in space. They're in space right now, so that means they escape. They hit escape velocity somehow.
That's just where we would have to agree to disagree on that one. And I respect your belief there, but I can't get myself to understand that.
I do respect your belief. I'm just asking you to explain it. So if we see extremophiles that are in outer space right now, then clearly they had to reach escape velocity, right?
Or they had already existed, and that would probably support the abiogenesis theory, or maybe a different theory I'm not familiar with.
Sir, the mechanism, here's the problem. When you put the elements together, they do not turn into phospholipids. They do not turn into proteins or RNA. When you put them together, you can get some more advanced molecules. You can get some amino acids. Amino acid does not mean alive. I hate when they say organic colloquially, but when they say organic, they means it contains carbon. If you get a carbon-containing compound, they will call it organic. And because people use the word organic colloquially to mean life, they will misunderstand and think that you're getting life. When you get amino acids in any type of experiment where you mix chemicals together, the chemicals of life, if you get some amino acids or some nucleotides, you get dual chirality. Do you understand what chirality is? That's a yes or no question.
I do not. You are definitely more
okay. So correct. So chirality. Okay. So chirality. So chirality means handedness. It would be left-handed and right-handed. The only proteins that work in any living system are left-handed proteins. Okay. Hold on. The left-handed proteins are the only things that life uses. Right-handed DNA and RNA is the only thing that life uses. You will not see left-handed DNA. You will not see right-handed proteins. What happens is in the lab, you get left-handed and right-handed amino acids and nucleotides when you mix them together, which indicates that they will never turn into a protein. They will never turn into an RNA because they have that mirror chirality. They cannot form a chain. They cannot form a protein or an RNA molecule. So that's what you get when you're in the lab. You always get this dual chirality, which is incompatible with life and incompatible with forming proteins and RNA, which means whether you're in the lab or outside the lab, if you mix these chemicals together, they won't turn into life. However, life itself only makes other life. You never see non-life turning into life. You never even see non-life turning into a phospholipid or an RNA or a DNA or a protein. However, in the event that you did, if you got an RNA molecule to form, what would happen is that RNA molecule would be destroyed by hydrolysis. It will be destroyed by any pH above 6. It will be destroyed by sunlight in the wet, dry pools. It will be destroyed by magnesium ions and salt ions. And the average pH of the ocean is 8.2. So these things would absolutely destroy RNA if you ever got it, but we never have gotten it. And a protein that formed outside of a cell, which you've never seen that either, if a protein formed outside of a cell, it would be unfolded because there'd be no chaperone proteins, endoplasmic reticulum, or ribosomes to help that protein to fold. So that protein would be a unfolded, non-specific protein. So life coming from non-life is illogical and unscientific.
Okay. Would you be willing to send me some information or whatever on that so I can look more into that?
Sure.
Are you familiar
So
with?
I wanna
Let me answer this, and I'll go to Carr. Go ahead, Carr.
I just wanted to say, you know what I'm saying, bring up this point. First off, I agree with you, the one who's hosting this. But I also want to say that at one point in time in history, like there was more than just one species of humans. You have the Denisovans, you have the Neanderthals, and you have the Homo sapiens. That's a fact. I mean, you can do your research. That's a fact.
That's not a fact.
Okay.
Yeah. Hold on a second. So we got to make sure that the way we define things makes it a fact or not fact. So it is true that we have classified Neanderthals as different, but they're still humans. They're just human. They're literally no different than us. The only difference is their shapes, right? Trait isolations, but they're still human. They're not, just because we have classified them as something different doesn't mean that that's true. So they're just humans. Real quick, let me give you this paper right here. It's called "The Descent from a Common Ancestor Restricts Exploration of Protein Sequence Space." This was done in 2026. This is the most recent paper about LUCA, the Universal Common Ancestor, and it shows that the proteins did not have enough time in 4-something billion years to come up with the proteins that we have today, exploring all of the protein space. Now, this is not a creationist website or paper. This is the most recent that I can find, scientifically peer-reviewed paper. I think it was done in March, if I'm not mistaken, of 2026. And they have to conclude now that the proteins had to evolve separately. They could not have come from a universal common protein, meaning that a protein was formed, and then out of that, you got all of these different additional proteins because there hasn't been enough time in the 4-point-something billion years to get all the proteins that we have. It's too numerous. So they say that you instead of it being a family tree where you have one base that branches off into many different proteins, it's actually a forest of trees that have original starting proteins. No, that's problematic for evolution because it shows that the universal common ancestor is improbable. But that's the name of the paper, and I would encourage you to look that up. I like to try to stay up to date with my papers, but that's the name of it.
All right.
But
Thank
yeah,
you very
Carl,
much.
yeah, man, I would agree with you that they're humans, but they're not a different kind of human. They're just human.
Yeah. I probably spoke a little bit out of turn on that, but yeah, like, and another point too that I wanted to say is about how y'all was talking about earlier about how the water was around the rings of Saturn. Okay, and I want to reroute that back to where y'all was talking about the dinosaur man and with his theories about how the Earth was flooded and when the waters was released. You know what I'm saying? Like the waters come from the bottom of the earth, they come from the heavens, okay? And he made this one point in one of his things where he talked about that when the ice age happened after the flood was because when the water burst from the wells underneath the earth, it sent rocks up that burst through the firmament that probably sent water out towards space that caused the cold, you know what I'm saying, to come in and cause the ice age. Does that make sense? So, like, what you're saying in my mind makes sense. Like,
Ian Hovind, he believes the same thing I do about that. I believe that a comet, we differ a little bit on some things. He believes that the Meissner effect causes ice to go to the poles, but the Meissner effect doesn't really work on ice. It works on metals. They can become super, super cold. They become conductive, but you really need something other than just ice. Material inside the ice can cause it to become magnetic, but I believe that a comet come in and struck, And when a comet is coming in, obviously it's going to pull in that super cold air with it, and then a comet has an ice tail. So I think that this is what also caused the ice age too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, brother. You have an additional question or anything? Oh, you're breaking up now. Man, something going on today. All right, Carl, I appreciate you coming, man. You're breaking up a little bit too bad for me to continue the conversation with you, but God bless, and I appreciate you coming, man. Mark, what's up, brother?
Morning. What's happening?
Hey, man, hanging in there, man. Hanging in there.
Yeah, I was just scrolling, and I was on another thing, and got an invite here, so that's why I'm here. But, yeah, I agree with all your prompts. Evolution is false. The flood was real. Pre-trib isn't biblical. I agree with all that. But I was just wondering. You seem pretty knowledgeable of Scripture, so I was wondering about Genesis 3:15.
Okay, what about it?
I shall put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed.
It's talking about Jesus.
Okay, so who is the seed of the serpent? Who are the seed? The word seed literally means offspring, children. So it's talking about two children. So, and the word enmity means hatred. So who are those two children?
I think it's talking about, it's clearly a typology talking about Jesus coming. So it would be, and Satan is the ruler of the world, right? So it's talking about mankind, I would imagine.
So you don't believe there are literal children of the devil?
Define that. What do you mean by that? And I'll tell you if I believe in it or not.
In 1 John 3, it talks about children of the devil.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think it's actual children. I think like Jesus called John, if I'm not mistaken, a child of Satan, right? He even called him Satan at one point. He said, "Satan, get behind me."
He was talking about that was Peter. It wasn't John.
Yeah, Peter. Sorry, my fault. Yeah, I said it backwards.
He just said,
that's my point.
Get behind thee, Satan. So Jesus told the Pharisees in John 8:44, "Ye are of your father the devil, who was a blank."
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that on TikTok.
I got you.
Do you know what I'm talking about? John. Yeah,
8:44? That's my point. That's we're talking about mankind here. That was my point.
Yeah, and Jesus told them that they are literally from their father the devil, who was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth. So who is that M-U-R-D-E-R from the beginning? Who did that?
It's those
who unalived his brother and then lied to God about it, saying, I know not, I'm not my brother's keeper.
Yeah, you're talking about Cain.
Okay, so is that the seed of the serpent?
Well, when I again, let me just make sure that we're getting my definitions correct. When I say the seed of the serpent, it's anybody who willfully aligns themselves with Satan. This is why we see God, Jesus, call people who are clearly not half angel Satan breeds. He calls them the son. He calls them the son of, right, of Satan. So I think this is talking like colloquially and not literally. When it says the seed of the woman would be Jesus, and Satan's seed would be those who oppose God's will, being all of mankind who goes against God. That's the way that I understand it.
Okay, so when I read 1 John 3, it literally talks about children of the devil, and then it says, "For this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. Wherefore slew he him." So,
all right. So let me, but because the implication, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of a delay. I wasn't trying to interrupt you here. So the implication that you're getting is that Cain is a literal seed of Satan.
Yes,
So that means that Satan and Eve got it on. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it was Satan and Eve. I think he was Satan, the serpent in Genesis 3, is pointing to the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So
how does Eve give birth to a Satanistic child if she didn't, quote unquote, hop on the good foot and do the bad thing with him? It doesn't make any sense.
That's what she did, something with something, because she didn't eat no fruit out of some tree. Like an
see, that's my
apple.
point, right? Now we're starting getting into the stuff that's not biblical.
What?
That's my problem with going off on this weird, this really weird anti-biblical Illuminati type stuff. It's just the Bible doesn't say that at all.
What doesn't it say?
It doesn't say that Eve had relations with anything other than Adam.
So Adam's the wicked one in John 3.
I've already explained that when you willfully sin, that's why it's colloquial language. When you willfully sin, then that's when he calls you the son of Satan.
No, in 1 John 3, it literally says that this is the message that you heard from the beginning, that we should love one another, not as Cain, who is of that wicked one.
And
So
Jesus
who is
called
that wicked
Peter
one?
Satan. It did
Who
not
is that
mean to
wicked
be
one?
actual.
Who is the
Satan.
wicked one?
Satan. Is
So-
Peter Satan?
Huh?
Is Peter Satan?
Who are the children of the devil? You're saying
You're
that it's
answering my
Peter.
question now with a question. I answered your
No,
question
Peter is
directly.
not
Is
Satan.
Peter Satan?
Peter
Then
is
why
not
did
Satan.
Jesus call him Satan?
He didn't call him Satan. He said, "Get behind thee, Satan."
And who was he talking to?
wasn't- He was talking to Peter.
Okay, so when he looked at Peter and said, "Get behind me, Satan," you're not saying
So
that he
you're
was calling Peter Satan?
So you're a Judeo.
So let me get this straight. So let me get this straight. So the Bible means what it means when you need it to mean what it means, and then it doesn't mean what it means when you don't want it to mean what it means. Is that it? Kind of pick and choosing?
No, that's not.
Come
what
on,
it
bro.
is. It's children
Yeah.
of the
So
devil.
you got to show me, show me in the Bible where Eve. Show me in the Bible. All right,
Can
man.
I say
show me in the
something?
Bible.
The parable
No,
of the
yeah,
wheat
you can
and the tares.
you can say this right here by answering my
parable
question
of the wheat
directly.
and the tares.
Show me in the Bible what you're talking about. Show me where Eve had relations with this Satanistic figure.
Genesis 3:15. It's pretty
Genesis
obvious.
3:15. Let's go to Genesis 3:15. And I will put enmity between the woman and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Man, I just don't see where that's Eve having a relationship with anything. So you think that
the word
what about the
seed literally
tree?
means offspring. The word
So
seed literally means offspring, children.
Yeah,
So-
I
so
understand
there's
that.
two
So he's
seeds there,
saying
the seed of
between
the serpent and
stop,
the seed of the woman.
stop. I need you to focus. So if it's going to between his seed and
Why
her
don't you
seed, it's not
focus
the same seed.
Without all that Judeo-Christian garbage.
Hey, stop! Don't get kicked. I want to
So
ask you something.
hold on a second. So if it's got his seed and then her seed, that's not the same seed, is it?
Obviously not.
Then there you go. Thank you. You
What,
proved
what
my
do you
point.
mean? It's not. There's two seeds. There's two children.
Go ahead, brother.
The
I'm
word
at the
seed
end of my rope. If you want to get in
literally-
here, you might want to do it quickly.
All right. So, brother, okay, so Genesis 3:15. Now, I want to warn you, I'm becoming a Catholic before you just misquote it. What do you interpret enmity to mean?
We got an African speaking.
What? You racist?
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
get up. No,
You guys are
yeah, you gotta go.
Judeo-Christian garbage.
Get off my stage, man. Get off my stage.
Hey,
Dang.
Sorry, I was
Still
gonna let him
better than what
speak to
I
you,
can
man,
call.
but he's gonna get my channel pinged because now he wants to be racist because
Yeah, I feel
this
you.
is yeah he's gonna get my channel
It's
pinged.
better than what I get
don't know.
called.
Do I sound
Utterly
Listen,
ridiculous,
I'm
man.
not joking. Listen, I'm not joking. I have been called. But the guy was talking about evolution for like 20 minutes. Not this guy, another live, and he literally started calling people monkeys and stuff. And I was just like, listen, according to your genre, this not even an insult because you just said we all evolved from monkeys. Now you calling people monkeys. It was wild. So they did. The racism does get a little. When they lose, they get racist sometimes.
What was he even trying to argue?
Dude, for some reason, I guess, I don't know, I guess my life has gotten shared with a bunch of Illuminati weirdos, man, who wants to believe that the Bible, it's like some kind of, I, 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 and start trying to take to use the Bible to believe something that they want to believe. He was trying to say that Satan and Eve got it on, and that's where Cain was a result of Eve and Satan getting it on, and that I don't know, just really weird stuff. It has, like, it's not biblical. They come up with their own private interpretations. He was going to say that the tree of life didn't actually mean the tree. She didn't eat of the tree of life, and that's how sin entered. It was actually the tree of life represents Shmex, and that when she ate the apple, that actually represents her and Satan having Shmex. So it's just really weird Illuminati, weird nonsense.
Yeah, that's pretty odd.
Hey, what's up, fellas? What's going on?
What's up, brother?
Chilling. I'm just overhearing. I just scrolled on to your live. I'm still a baby in the word, but I'm doing like my search on trying to find like a better understanding of God. So your prompt says evolution is false. I'm trying to grasp that, like, as far as like, do you believe that everything didn't come about out of it either, like, how do you say it, been adapting, like, like everything?
I believe in adaptation, brother. I believe that you can get all of the dogs that we have today, you can get that from a wolf. They're still the same kind of animal. I think that God made the original kinds, and then those kinds diversify, but they never diversify to anything outside of their original kinds. So you can take a wolf and breed it down to a Chihuahua, but you cannot breed it into a bird, right?
Correct.
There you go. So I believe that God, when he made the original kinds, he gave them enough diversification, if you will, within their genetic code, the ability for them to adapt.
So what's your take on prehistoric times, like dinosaurs and all that?
Yeah, I love dinosaurs, man. I think that God made dinosaurs on day 6. I think they're in the book of Job, so they were clearly on the ark. And I think that the ones that we see in the fossil record are they unalived in the flood. That's how fossils are formed. One of the ways that I love.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say one of the ways that I love dinosaurs to show people that the flood was 4,400 years ago or 4,500 years ago, and we know that dinosaurs did not live millions of years ago because they have soft tissue and DNA fragments inside them.
Nice. Okay. But like, would you take evolution to happen when pterodactyls became birds?
Well, I don't think pterodactyls became birds. So.
Well. All right. Good point. Maybe not become birds, but the birds come from that family.
No, I think that would be a different family. We see that pterodactyls did not have feathers. They had like fleshy skin like you would see on a bat wing. Yeah. So they didn't I would say that they're of the different family than birds. What's up, Tiger?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm just, just thinking, I mean, evolution, like you would think that it's something greater that comes from something that was there before that has just grown into something better.
You're a new Christian?
Yes, yeah.
All right, here's what I want you to do. There is some seminars you can watch online. It's Kent Hovind's Creation Seminars. This will get you hooked, and if you type in Kent Hovind, you're going to get a million different things, and you're not going to. So you need to do Kent Hovind Creation Seminars, and there's like 7 of them.
Okay.
And they're about an hour or 45 minutes a piece. They're worth watching, and they go over the entire of the creation. I'm not saying you have to agree with everything, but it'll really lay it down for you, and I don't have to redo it because he's already done it. So it's amazing work. Yeah, Kent Hovind's Creation Seminars, and that'll help you as a young Christian build your foundation so you know what to build off of.
For sure. Yeah, man. Thank you, man. Yeah, I'll take a look at that, and I'll join your live again some other time. But thank
All right,
you
man.
right now, and God bless.
God bless, brother. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right, all right. See, we got another guest wanting to come up.
Going on.
Chad, what's up, brother?
So I've kind of been I got onto Kent Hovind like 4 or 5 years ago, so I have a decent idea. But like there's this one what do you know about like the creation prophecy, like God calling the end times by in the beginning of the book? Like it's hard for me to explain it, but like when God created the earth, like the 7 days God took, and how Earth is about 6,000 years old, about to be seven. I think we're pretty close to 7,000th year, right?
Yeah, so some people believe this, and I think it's very interesting, but the honest answer is I don't know. And I'm not one of those guys that's going to say that I'm going to put a date on it or say this, because your credibility gets shot if you're wrong. So here's what
100%.
There's a viewpoint that God took 6 days to create, and then he rested on the seventh day. Every single day is preferenced with a singular evening and a morning, with the exception of the seventh day. It's the only one that wasn't closed out. So why did God rest? And me and a good Christian buddy of mine named Jason, we were talking about this just yesterday. Why did God rest on the seventh? He wasn't tired, it's God. So why did he rest? What does that mean? Well, some people mean that because God does everything through typology, right? The whole Bible is full of typology. So some people see this as a typology, that there's going to be a 7 or 6,000 year Earth, basically, and in the seventh year, the seventh day is going to be 1,000-year period of rest, which is the millennial reign. So 6,000 years on the Earth, and then a 7,000 year, or the seventh day. Man, I can't talk. 6,000 years on the Earth, and then 1,000 years of millennial reign. That represents 6 days of creation, and then the last day is going to be the day of rest, which will represent the millennial reign. I think that's what you're talking about. Honest answer is I don't know. I have no clue.
Okay, yeah, and I also have a question about the millennial reign, because it doesn't it talk about a short season where Satan gets loosed after the 1,000 years, right?
Yeah.
See, that's kind of leads me to believe that it's very hard for me to explain it, but I've kind of started thinking that we might have already had like the millennial reign, but it was scrubbed when it's in Satan's short season, which I believe like right now we are in Satan's short season, which is, it would explain a lot of the stuff going on. But that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, so you're a preterist.
What's that?
So a preterist believes that all of this stuff has already happened. So the problem is that we just have history, right? We have history, and history doesn't show that the Christians went up in the clouds during the rapture. It doesn't show that God poured out his wrath on the planet. It doesn't show that. So a preterist viewpoint would take that. So all of these things has to happen before Christ's millennial reign. You literally have to have the Christians go up in the clouds in the rapture. Then you have to have God pouring out his wrath on the earth. Then Jesus comes back for the battle of Armageddon, and then you have the millennial reign.
Okay, I have another question. So we talk about history, right? We know history is written by and given to us by people that have power and money to make the books. And why, if Satan was in a short season, why wouldn't he want to scrub anything that talked about a millennial reign, talked about anything like that? You know, it's just things I think about. Obviously, I don't fully believe it, but I do have questions.
The problem that we see is that a third of the moon and the sun are smitten, means they're broken off and taken away. So clearly that hasn't happened, right? So I mean, that's the kind of stuff you couldn't just wipe away. And then when God destroys the planet, it talks about the wormwood, the grass, and the trees getting burned up. It wouldn't matter what people wrote in a book. We would still have the archaeological evidence. You would have to claim some kind of spiritual intervention to say that Satan fixed the moon, or he fixed the sun, and he hid all of the evidence for the burning trees. And you know, it just requires me to have more faith than is reasonable.
No, that's understandable. Yeah, no, I've just been seeing a lot of stuff about that over the years. Like around the time I found Kent Hovind was around the time I started seeing stuff like that as well. Because I don't know, it's just, you know, I'm young. I'm 22 right now, so I'm still obviously learning about all this stuff. But this stuff.
The same
That's why
age
I
as
came
me,
up
man.
here so I could ask about these things.
It's good to see young people in the faith, man. Yeah, learn this stuff, dude. Start a ministry, educate people.
100%. Yeah,
Hey,
I'm trying to
Chris,
learn right now. And
I got a question for you. I ain't trying to debate it, man. This is a question of curiosity.
Okay.
All right. Like, you study a lot of topics, and you're very educated. I gotta give you that, right?
Thank you.
And I'm not saying you're wrong. Keyword, I'm not saying you're wrong. But do you ever find it curious to, like, see what early Christians thought about certain things? Like, for example,
Yeah, of course.
like a lot of them agree with you. Far as we talked about this, the angels. They weren't literal angels sleeping with women. It was from Seth.
Yeah.
A lot of things like this.
Yeah, and that's why I've said before, I think it's very important I believe in the apostolic procession. I believe that church history is very important. And I think that what the early church, I use them all the time. When the church fathers were talking about how when they said like the textual criticism, when they say like mainstream textual critics doesn't come to the same conclusions that I do. Just based off of the text, they look at it and say, like the longer ending of Mark, they say, well, it's not original. And they go with that. So that's textual criticism. But then I look at the church fathers, like the woman caught in adultery, they'll say that story was added. That story was later added in. But I can look at the church fathers and go, wait a minute, the church fathers say, no, there's this group of individuals over here who's attempting to take it out. And theirs are the manuscripts that lasted the longest. So I use church father. I'm like, that's direct evidence to shows us that these stories were original. They're just the earliest ones that we have, like the Alexandrian, took it out. So it's very important because we have direct evidence from those church fathers that say, hey, people's attempting to change the Bible. So because they said that men. Some of the men in the church didn't like the fact that their women could read that story about the woman that's caught in adultery, and they didn't like the fact that Jesus didn't punish her over it. So they was afraid that their wives would read that story, and then it would give them carte blanche to go, be as adulterous as they wanted to. So they attempted to take it out of the Bible. And so I use apostolic procession. I use the church fathers. My only thing is this: if it disagrees with the plain reading of the scripture, then I go with the scripture. If I don't know and I don't understand, then I got no problem going to the church fathers to see what the early Christians thought about it. I just posted a video where a guy's like, you don't have any evidence that Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John wrote Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay, well, I go to the church fathers for that because literally in all of history, there has never been anybody that's ever been contributed to writing Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John other than Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. And we have that through the apostolic procession. So I love church fathers as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, apostolic succession. But yeah, it's amazing that, and for me, it just strengthened my faith on the Bible a lot more. Like, for example, like, I'm not gonna lie, for a while there, I had some doubts of like, well, how do I know this? And I'm like, well, okay, if we have a direct disciple saying that he wrote this, where he wrote it, this is game changing, like groundbreaking. But yeah,
absolutely. I go with them all the time. The only thing is that, look, we're humans and we're flawed. So just because, and also early church fathers might have got something wrong. So that's why I always say it like this. I go with the Bible. And if the Bible doesn't say it, then I got no problem seeing what the early Christians thought about it. And that's the way that I say it. If the church fathers say something that I believe disagrees with the interpretation of the Bible, then I go with the Bible. But if it's not there, then I go with them.
This is a little crazy. Now, none of them accept it as canonical scripture, the same way we look at the Gospels. Obviously, even you as a Protestant, you don't hold all scripture the same. For example, like, you will hold Jesus' words over Jude's, for example, like, right?
Yeah.
For example, a lot of them looked at Enoch as scripture, believe it or not. But they didn't look at it the same way as, like, for example, how we look at the gospel, like, which is crazy.
Well, some of them did, but that's why we got to look at the overall history. Like I said, Enoch, some people absolutely thought it was scripture. But I don't know if I would go to say the majority of them, again, because we know that it's not part of the Tanakh, it's not part of the Torah, it's not part of the Psalms, it's not part of the prophets.
No, I'm not saying like, when I'm saying a few, I mean like 3 or 4. Like they said, like, well, most of them, to be honest, one of them was a heretic. Like he became a heretic. But let's be honest. What I'm saying is like, I don't know. It's just like, after the Bible ends, after Acts and the letters, which, by the way, proves Paul was a real person, because Clement of Rome, 70 years later, is saying that Paul wrote his letter and we have the letter that he wrote, which is another groundbreaking thing. But I don't know. It's like, for me, it's interesting to see how the church carried on after Acts, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm pro church and early Christians, and I use them a lot, especially when I'm going through textual criticism or the validity. I use them a lot because they were the ones that are on the ground. But I do believe that Scripture has the authority. That's my overall point.
Yeah, I understand it. And you see that it's some big atheist, I forget his name. He converted to Christianity. You see that?
I'd have to know who you're talking about now.
I gotta find his name. Like he used to make arguments for atheists. He's like a philosopher. He goes to some big school, and he just converted with Catholicism, but still Christian.
Yeah, nice. All right, guys, I've been doing this now for 2 hours, so if I have any ops that would like to come up and make an argument, now would be the time. If anybody has any additional questions, now would be the time. I always like to take the time towards the end of the live to thank everyone that's given me the stickers and stuff that I haven't had the time to thank during. So I appreciate the support that you guys give me. I guess it goes right back into the ministry. I put it right back into it, and it doesn't go unnoticed, even though I can't, like right now, I'm getting a sticker. Thank you very much. I don't have the time sometimes when I'm in the middle of a debate or a discussion to stop and say thank you. But like I said, it doesn't go unnoticed and it doesn't go unused. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Ethan, welcome back, man.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring up something. I was in here actually a couple of weeks ago, and I had asked you something about the way that we observe the universe and tell the age based on that. And your answer to that was God gives the perception of age, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, not perception of age. I think he made it with age. It's not a perception. I think that, age. Yeah, he made it with age. Like, for example, when he made Adam and Eve, he didn't give them a bunch of seeds in a jar and say, go plant these really quickly or you're going to starve, right? He made fully formed trees with fully formed fruit ready to eat that never aged in time. So if you were to pop into existence on day 6 when God made everything, and you were to go pick an apple from a tree, say, you would think that apple at least has to be several months old. But it's not. It was literally made at the time. But if you were to put it to a scientific test, I would imagine, I couldn't prove this, but I would imagine that the apple would show age because God made it with age, right? Same thing with the universe. God made it with age. Even though it's not old, he made it with age because that's how he did it. He made some stars with more gas, some stars with less gas. The stars with less gas would look to us like they're at the end of their life cycle, like they've already burnt through most of their gas. No, he just didn't make it with as much.
Okay, so I think that argument makes sense for everything on Earth, but I don't think that makes sense for the way we observe other large bodies far away from us in space. Because for him to do that, he already created, say, stars that are millions of light years away that we now see. He created those already at the certain age that we observe them. But he would have also had to put all of the light photons or particles, all the waves, he would have had to put all of those throughout that entire distance, all of those light years, he would have had to put all of that into place. And that just doesn't really make sense to me on why he would need to do that, because he set up the law of light speed because he created everything.
Let me help you out with that. Are you familiar with the Doppler effect?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the red shift, right? So these galaxies that are really far off, I mean, like almost all of them, like 99.999% of them, I think there's only like literally 2 or 3 galaxies that are blue shifted. This means that the light between us and the stars are red shifted, meaning that they're stretched out. You know, it says in the Bible 8 times God stretched out the stars. So if you took a star from here and you stretched it out and you put it over there, the light between us and the star would be red shifted, and it would still only be 6,000 years old.
So that explanation, you're saying that he created the stars closer to Earth and then moved them out with his power?
Move them out. That's what the Bible says. It says it something like 7 times, actually. It says it a lot, that he stretched out the stars.
Interesting.
To me, it didn't, I mean, not to me, but I think it didn't really make a whole lot of sense to Christians when they're reading it, because the Bible repeats it so many times. Why is it so important that the Bible literally keeps saying that God stretched out the stars? But now that we know about the Doppler effect, it makes perfect sense. That's literally what we see everywhere. We see the red shift everywhere. And red shift is stretched light. It's a prediction that the Bible made way before science ever saw it.
Sure. But
and then plus we can use the James Webb telescope and we can look back. So if the universe is what they're calling 13.8 billion years ago, when we look at light that should be 13.8 billion years old, meaning that it took 13.8 billion years to get here, we should be seeing we should be seeing gaseous clouds turning into stars. And instead, what we see is fully formed galaxies.
There is actually a period of time where you can't observe the formation of these stars due to, I can't remember if it's the density of space at the time that just didn't allow these light particles to go. I really wish I had this. I feel like I
don't know what you're talking about, because we've looked back at the beginning of space right now according to the James Webb telescope, and this is why I'm making the prediction, and not only me but other young Earth creationists. They're probably getting ready to double the age of the universe because they have to. Because if the universe is 13.8 billion years old and we look back 13.8 billion years in the past and we see fully formed galaxies that would take billions of years for them to fully form, then clearly it can't be 13.8 billion years. You got 2 options. You can either make the universe older, or you can say that they were created fully formed. And they're not going to say that it's created fully formed, so they're going to add, they have to add time. So yeah, man, I would encourage you to look that up. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
The thing I was trying to think of, it's called, I think it's the photon epoch, where the way that how hot and dense that the theory of the universe is that it trapped the light, which gives this era of just complete darkness that we can't observe. That was what I was trying to explain or mention.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and but my sort of idea here with God giving the or creating everything to have age already, I feel like that's almost like creating an illusion that we can't then, what makes us able to then look at the rest of this evidence in Earth and believe that God didn't just create this illusion and appearance of this age, or created already with age. Almost like it creates this last Thursday-ism possibility.
Yeah, but it's not a trick, right? God's not tricking you. This is literally, like I said, it's kind of how it has to be done. If God is going to tell Adam and Eve, like I said, I know this is a silly analogy, but it works. God didn't give Adam and Eve a bunch of seeds and go plant these really quickly or you're going to starve. He had to make fully formed plants. He had to make fully formed fruit on the trees ready for them to eat. They never aged in time, right? And they didn't have to grow from seeds. God made them, and they had the appearance of age on them the moment that they grew. Or the moment that they popped into existence, they had the appearance of age.
I think that makes sense for everything on Earth, but just why do that for everything else in space, though? Well,
why would it make sense here and then not there? God likes diversity, man. There is a planet out there. Like, I have no reason not to believe it because I just don't know. It could be total nonsense, but according to secular scientists, getting the light off of this stuff, there is a planet out there that's made out of a solid diamond.
Yep.
It's just one solid diamond. That's a planet. And when people see that, they go, wow, evolution. I look at that and I'm like, God made a planet. He made a diamond the size of a planet. That's the God that I serve. That's amazing. That's crazy work right there, right? And that makes me want to serve him even more, that he made a diamond that like the size of a planet, right? That's super cool. And God likes diversity. He likes planets looking this way. He likes them looking that way. When you look out, the universe says that God made the stars to show his majesty. And the fact that we can't find the end of it, the fact that we don't know how it started, and the fact that we see all this diversity in all of these different planets is, I think, screams that clearly there is a creator. How can you get a diamond the size of a planet through evolution? That's just ridiculous to me. That clearly shows a designer to me.
Not evolution. That's just the way that it's the carbon, like, and the pressure and creation of it.
That's evolution.
It would have came in.
It's called cosmic evolution.
Cosmic evolution. Okay, but that's all it is just carbon, which carbon's very common.
Jason said that's the ring my wife was expecting me when I proposed. Yeah, she was wanting that diamond size, that planet size diamond.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Carbon is not very common. The most popular element, the most
hydrogen,
populous element is hydrogen, not carbon. Yeah. Carbon's actually very rare. And no, it didn't just happen that way. Most planets are not solid diamonds. That's not an average thing to happen to a planet. Is to be.
That's very rare for the structure.
It's very weird. That's exceedingly to end up with a whole planet of. Yeah, that's exceedingly rare as far as things you find in planets. What's more common in planets is you find rocky planets and then you find gas giants. But to find a planet made out of diamonds is weird. That is exceedingly weird.
Very, very rare the way that the structure's made. But
that's my point, brothers. When you see these things, that's
element.
Well, regardless, yeah, but that's still my point. Is that when you look out into space, it shows me that God likes diversity. So I wouldn't expect him to make everything look like it was 6,000 years old. I think that would be kind of boring. I think seeing a supernova out there in the universe where these things run out of gas and then violently explode and create these supernova rings, and then all of these beautiful gases that come off of that, I think that's pretty cool, to be honest with you. And everybody always says when they think of God, they think of the lamb, and which is good, but God also made the T-Rex, and he says, behold now Leviathan. He said, look at his teeth are round about and great around him. God made this animal that just looks terrible, right? It's got these teeth all around it. It's got this skin. These scales are so tight together that air couldn't go in between it. God made that because he likes diversity, thinks it's cool. So do I.
Sure, but I don't see, I can't wrap my head around why he gives the appearance of these cosmic entities that are millions and billions of years old. Because we can, like, the way that the light comes in, I know you said the redshift, but even still, like, why would
that's the only thing
that we observe it that way? Like, that just creates more confusion for us.
It doesn't create confusion. That's your interpretation, brother. I don't get how they could still be as big as they are, and the problem that you're having is you believe that they have to form.
Well,
it takes this many million years to form, but they don't. Well, but the redshift already shows us that the light between us and the star can still be 6,000 years old if it got stretched, and that's exactly what we see. You would have a problem if the light wasn't redshifted and these stars were, let's say a star is 1 million light years away. It would take 1 million years for the light to get here. Okay? Not if it's redshifted. If it's redshifted, that means it could have started off here, grabbed, and then dragged out there, right? As an analogy. The light between us and the star would still be redshifted and not take 1 million years to get here. The light between us and it would be redshifted and still traveling to us redshifted and not be millions of years old.
Yes, but we don't observe everything moving away from us. Like the way we observe the redshift in these different bodies, not everything's moving away from our focal point. It's moving from a different focal point that mathematicians have used to calculate that.
It is, well, you can say that, but the fact that there's out of
I
the
believe that.
sextillion numbers of stars, there's only 2 or 3 that's actually blue shifted. Every
Correct.
single one of them outside of that are red shifted, meaning that they're stretching away from us. Period.
Yes, almost everything in the universe is expanding away from each other.
Right. So here's the thing. We actually don't know that. The only way that we know that is through the
We do.
redshift. We can't measure. How do you know that?
I can't explain the math because I am not an
I know
expert in that math.
I'm not an expert, but I know too. It's the redshift. That's what it is.
I've seen that. It's the redshift plus parallax that we've observed, and we can calculate the
Okay,
math through that.
You can't. Yes, at close distances, but your parallax from so they measure it when we're on this side of the sun, and they say, okay, here's the star, my head being the sun. They measure it over this side, and then they use it when the Earth is on this side of the sun, and then they measure the same. They measure the same star. So then you've got your triangle. The problem is once you get so many millions and millions of light years away, that is a straight line. It's no longer a triangle. And the mathematics is ridiculous on it. So to believe that we can actually get the distance from a triangle, because you got you have your three points, and all you got to do, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You got 2 of them, right? So you can figure out the third one. But the problem is when you're measuring billions of light years away, that's no longer a triangle. It's literally just a straight line. That's what that is. It would be like using the I forget the tool that the people use to measure in the ground and stuff like that, whatever that little thing's called. That'd be like doing that from North Carolina all the way to Hawaii. That wouldn't be a 3-part triangle. It would be a single line.
It's hard to, but they still can get because with how advanced the computers are nowadays, they can still get just even the smallest angle.
It's all about the information that you put into the computer. I believe the calculations are correct. It's the numbers that you put in, and again the assumptions that you put in. Now here's my contention. I have no problem with them being that far away. I don't. But you have to understand what they're getting that off of. The majority of it is that the light is redshifted, and because it's redshifted, they're said it's moving away. Okay. That's not a bad assumption, but the Bible tells us that the stars were stretched. So that's another reason that the light is redshifted. So they have to take that into account. I'm sure they're not taking that into account because they don't believe the Bible.
Well, we have observed though that everything is not expanding away from us. We observe the redshift, and it's expanding away from a different focal point because the whole theory behind the Big Bang, which that has been changing over the years. I'm not going to claim that is true, but they have proved, like, the reason they've came to that conclusion is because they have calculated where they estimate that point happen, and everything is redshifted from that point. It's not all redshifted away from us. Everything in the universe.
That doesn't hurt my feeling. I don't care though. That doesn't bother me though. I don't care if the focal point's in the middle of the Earth or not. That doesn't change anything. God could have started over here and then moved them out, and they would still be redshifted. That's fine.
So
the focal point has no bearing.
He started at a different point and then moved Earth out as well as the stars out from that point.
Well, our sun is an Earth, our sun is a star. So if he moved it out, absolutely, I don't have any problem with that.
So
very possible.
You believe that God created the universe at a different point than where the Earth is?
I believe he created the universe and then he stretched out the stars. There's no problem with that. He created the universe, and then from there he stretched out the stars. Wherever that focal point was at, it doesn't matter to me because I can literally see what he said he did is literally backed up by science. I can make a prediction off of that I can look out into the universe and I can see redshift everywhere. Now there's a couple of points where I can't. Maybe that's a good argument for the focal point not being different. Matter of fact, it's a great argument for the focal point being different because if the focal point was Earth and he stretched everything out, then we'd have a problem. We shouldn't see anything blue shifted. But the fact that we do see a couple of things blue shifted could absolutely be because the focal point was different from us. So that's still within what we're saying. I think that unequivocally, without a doubt, still proves the Bible. And it still doesn't have to be millions of years old.
Remind me here in Genesis, what was it said that God created first? The heavens and the earth, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what he created first? So earth would have been created first, and then he created the sun.
Yep.
And so would you say then from that initial point, he drug the earth, the sun, everything else around us away from that point, and then pushed the stars away from that initial point as well, and that's why we observe it that way?
I just said that Earth don't have to be the focal point. If God's working in space, then he can work in a corner of space and make the Earth. We don't have to be the center or the focus. I mean, we're the focus of God's attention, but that doesn't mean we have to be the middle of the universe. That wouldn't matter to me if we were or wouldn't. Wouldn't disprove or prove God.
So, but the Earth was initially at that focal point. Not to say the Earth is still that focal point, but it was moved from that focal point along with everything else. Then
I have no clue.
I have
no idea.
That's what that would have to be then. But if you said if Genesis says that God created the heaven and the earth first, that means the earth would have had to be created. Then he created the stars, and either the stars went away from Earth, or Earth with our sun went away from that focal point along with all the other stars.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Well, good conversation, brother. Appreciate you having it.
Yeah, that was a great conversation. That was challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Listen, I appreciate the support everybody gives me. Thank you all for following me. We stayed pretty consistent today, around 100. We dropped in the 80s, but I just want to say thank you. I appreciate all the support you guys give me, and it doesn't go unnoticed. Everything that you guys give and stuff, I put right back in the ministry. So God bless. I will see you. I go live Mondays, and I go live Wednesdays for sure, and then I go intermediately after that. I was able to go a little bit live a little bit more this week because I didn't really have a whole lot going on. So Mondays for sure, Wednesdays for sure, and then randomly after that. So again, I'm going to start promoting it a lot more heavily. Not this week, but next week. Not this Friday, but next Friday, I'm going to have Mr. Curtis up. He is going to talk about the Shroud of Turin. So if you guys have any questions about the Shroud of Turin, then I would suggest you write them down, remember it, and then September the 4th, make sure you clear that, guys, on your calendars, because he is going to come in and give his presentation on the Shroud of Turin. I can honestly say that I don't know what I believe about the Shroud of Turin. I've got to see a couple of his presentations, but never all the way through because my work had a conflict with it. So I've kind of caught the end of his presentation. So I've never got to see the whole thing all the way through. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, the Shroud of Turin is the shroud that was found in the Vatican. When they took a picture of it, the negative come out and it had a picture of Jesus on it. So again, Curtis is the man to talk about this. But what it was is they had a cloth that the Knights Templar and all these other individuals brung it back from the Crusades. If I'm not mistaken, I reserve the right to be wrong. Again, I don't know about this stuff, but anyway, they gave it to the Vatican and said this is supposed to be the cloth that covered Jesus during his death and resurrection. Right? It was the cloth that they wrapped him in. The problem is obviously because it was so old, you couldn't tell. It was just a cloth. But then in the 19th century, when they took a picture of it in the negatives, you couldn't see it in the light that us humans see through. But in the negatives, it showed a outline of a man that was clearly crucified. You could see in the negatives of the photo. So some people say, well, this is 100% proof that it's the shroud that covered Jesus. And then some people say that this was, Leonardo da Vinci or something like that painted it and was able to make it look like a forgery. There's a lot of interesting stuff on it. But anyway, my man, Oakdale Curtis, does a great presentation on this, and I'm going to have him on. It's going to be September the 4th. I'm going to start it at 6 p.m. What time I go live is usually around 5:30. So I get off work at 5. It takes me about 15, 20 minutes to get home, and then I get my stuff ready and get up. So it's usually between 5:30 and 5:45 is what times I go live, and that's Eastern Standard Time. Mondays and Wednesdays for sure, and then again randomly after that, just whenever I can, like today. But all right, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. God bless. And as always, Mr. Allen, you get the last word.
Hey, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, brother. Good to see you, man.
Oh yeah, I've caught a cold on top of everything else.
Lord have mercy.
I'm afraid it might turn into pneumonia. I hope not. Just be praying for me.
We'll be praying. Y'all make sure y'all praying for Mr. Allen in the comments too.
No, God bless you and keep going strong.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good one.
See you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.